Also, I do got a new channel too, new YouTube channel. So this video actually will go up on the YouTube channel as well. Okay, cool. It said Kane. All right. Hello.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry about that, brother. Yeah. So I kind of want to shift gears. Remember, we were talking about the Messiah and dealing with the law. Because of course, in the church and the religion, and then like Jehovah Witnesses, they, in a sense, they teach against the law. So I kind of want to head back there because, remember, we were talking about that before. We were talking about Moses' skin color,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah,
Exodus 4. You know what
yeah,
I'm
I was
saying?
trying to figure out where you're going with the skin color. But I you pointing out that it was for them to get the sign so they'll see that the person was cursed
Mm-hmm.
and that this was someone who was disobedient to Jehovah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And it's also letting you know that the children of Israel in the Bible couldn't have been white. Because if they were white, then it wouldn't have made no sense to already turn your hand or your skin the same color that you already are. That makes sense?
It kind of does.
Okay.
It does not really confirming that they are that were black, but they certainly were not white.
All right. So now let's build off that then. Let's keep that same energy. Let's build off that. So now let's go to Numbers, the 6th chapter real quick. I'm gonna read what mine says in the KJV. So I'm gonna go to Numbers, the 6th chapter. So we've already got one step. You said that they couldn't have been white. So we got that. So hey, that's progress. We moving somewhere. Now let's keep getting more understanding and more hints, because the Bible let you know that these were definitely people of color. So we're gonna go to Numbers, the 6th chapter first, and let's see what their hair looked like. We'll deal with that.
Chapter 6, verse.
I'm gonna start in verse 1. I'm reading 1 through 5. All right. So here we go. Now, you remember Samson. Samson was a Nazarite. Remember that? Remember the story of Samson, how he was a Nazarite?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So now we're reading about the laws of a Nazarite right here. So, number 6 in verse 1, it says this. And as you know, I'm reading from the KJV. It says, "And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them." So now the Most High is letting you know, is letting them know to speak to the Israelites, right?
Uh-huh.
And it says, and say unto them, and then it says this, when either a man or a woman shall separate themselves to a vow, meaning a pledge, a vow of a Nazarite. But here we go, to separate themselves unto the Lord, or who you will call Jehovah. It says, he shall separate himself from wine and strong drink. And so drink no vinegar of wine or vinegar of strong drink. Neither shall he drink any liquor of grapes, nor eat moist grapes or dry. Verse 4. It says, all the days of his separation. This is during the time of his vow of a Nazarite. It says, all the days of his separation shall he eat nothing that is made of the vine tree, from the kernel even unto the husk. But let's look at verse 5, because verse 5 is the verse that I want to focus on. So it says, all the days of the vow of his separation. This is when he's taking an oath of a Nazarite. It says, there shall no razor come up on his head, meaning he couldn't cut his hair. Then he say, until the days be fulfilled, in which he separated himself unto the Lord. He shall be holy, but watch this, and shall let the locks of the hair of his head grow. So in the KJV is letting us know that during the time where you took a vow of a Nazarite, you couldn't cut your hair, and it's letting you know that you have to let your locks grow. So what people of color do you know that have locks in their heads? Who do those people look more closely to today?
African.
Huh?
African. I see some black people with locks.
Right. So that would mean that the children of Israel look like who? You just said it.
I'll repeat your question.
You said, because I asked you at first, dealing with this, and we seen that they had locks in their heads. I asked you, who did it look like? And you said Africans. So then I turned around and asked you, well, what did the children of Israel look like then? And you just said it.
You asked me who often do I see with locks? And it is mostly black people.
Right. So which means that most likely the children of Israel had to have been what?
The children of Israel had locks.
Yeah, you just read it. It shall, I'm gonna read the verse again. All the days of the vow of his separation, there shall no razor come up on his head until the days be fulfilled in which he separated himself unto the Lord. He shall be holy, which comes from the Hebrew kodesh, which means set apart or cleansed. It says, and shall let the locks of the hair of his head grow. Brother, what people grow locks?
People grow locks. Well, they make the locks, but they let their hair grow out.
What race of people is that when they don't cut their hair and it grows? What
race I hear people call a group Rastafarians.
Well, what their skin color look like?
Real dark.
All right. So like me and your skin color, right?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to meet you where you at. That's all. You know, I look at all this as planting seeds. I'm just meeting you where you at. So if you want to say Rastafarians, then we know that those people are what skin color? Like mine's, right? And like yours.
Yeah.
So now we know that the children of Israel skin color couldn't look like those people that's in Israel today.
The people who are in Israel today?
Yeah, that are claiming to be Yehudim, which is the Jews. Can we agree to that?
That would require more research, investigation.
Right, but I'm just meeting you where you at. But according to the text, you just described to me that those people, where you just basically expressed to me that those people at first, you said that they weren't white, and you also expressed to me that they have to have been black. Because you said the Rastafarians, they had to look like that.
Yeah, because they had leprosy that was white as snow to be identified, the Israelites.
Mm-hmm.
And they should have been a different color than the bright white color that the leprosy had revealed.
Absolutely. Which means that they had to have been opposite of that skin color, right?
Yeah.
So, dealing with that, you said earlier that you knew that Samson was a Nazarite, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
He had to keep his hair long in order to keep his strength.
So, all right. Now, what did his hair look like?
What his hair look like, that I don't know.
Let's find out. Let's go to Judges. Look, we're going to find out. Judges chapter 16, we're going to go to verse 13. Judges 16:13. Let's read that real quick. And let's find out. So you already know about the story of Samson and Delilah. And as we know, Samson was of the tribe of Dan, right? He was an Israelite.
You said Judges?
Judges the 16th chapter. So we're going to Judges chapter 16. Take your time. You said what now?
I'm at 16 now.
You in Judges 16?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm gonna start in verse 13. So it says, verse 13. It says, I'm gonna start in 12. It says, Delilah therefore took the new ropes and bound him therewith, and said to him, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And there was liars in wait abiding in the chamber, and he brake them off of his arms like a thread, because this is when she was trying to find out what made him strong. So she lied to him to see if he was still strong. So then he goes on to say in verse 13, it says, And Delilah said unto Samson, hearest thou hast mocked me? Because now she realized that he lied to her. Because this is an indication here. What she's doing is she's trying to use this reverse psychology and put a guilt trip on him to get him to tell her the truth about where did he get his strength from, because he was so strong.
They're gonna kill her.
Yeah. So now what she's doing is she is putting the guilt trip on him, pouting, mumble mouthing, if you will. So it says in verse 13, and Delilah said unto Samson, hitherto thou hast mocked me and have told me lies. Tell me, right? Tell me wherewith thou mightest be bound. And he said unto her, now here we go. If you weavest means to cut. So if you weavest the 7 locks of my head with the web. Now let's stop there for a second. If Samson was a Nazarite from his birth, and we know that we just read that Nazarites could not cut their hair during the time that they were a Nazarite. So Samson at this point is a grown man, which means he never cut his head. Never cut his hair.
And Jehovah's angel had instructed his parents not to shave his head.
So you know that. So now we see he got 7 locks. That means his hair had to have been growing and growing and growing, and more than likely he had thick locks. Thick locks. For them to be 7 of them. That means he had like fat locks. For them to be 7 locks. And remember, this from the time of his birth. So it goes on to say, verse 14, and she fastened it with a pin, talking about his locks, and said to him, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he wake out of his sleep, and he went away with the pin of the beam and with the web. Now get this, let's jump down to verse 19 real quick. Verse 19, it says, and she made him sleep up on her knees, and she called for a man, and she caused him to shave off the 7 locks of his head. And she began to afflict him, and he mistreat him. And his strength went away from him. So now we see that his strength was in his locks. So, brother, what people on earth that can grow 7 thick locks like that from the time that you were a child all the way into a grown man? What race of people does that look like? Does that still look like the Rastafarians?
He said, what type of locks?
7 locks. So you know, like today, you have what people call dreadlocks, and they'll have like a whole bunch of locks on their heads, right? They can have 1 to 200 locks on their heads. But Samson only had 7, which would mean that his hair had to have been really thick.
Just in 7 wraps.
Huh?
Tight.
So what race of people does that sound like to you today? If we were to point them out, what would you first go and look for? If I describe that person, say, hey, go find those race of people. Find me who look like those people. Where would you go? Would you go to the ghetto, or would you go to the suburbs where the white folks at? Where you going?
Africa continent.
All right, African continent. That's what you said? Your phone breaking up. Hello? Can you hear me? Hold on, say something.
I can hear you clearly.
Okay, I can hear you now, brother. Where you say you would go to?
I said to find a group of people that's got locks today, probably Africa.
Probably Africa. And what color are those people?
Black.
Black. So what color were the children of Israel? Hello?
Well, I haven't seen any that clearly indicate that they were black.
Remember, brother, we working our way toward that. But so far, what you just said with your common sense, you gonna go to Africa, and you said that they black. So far, it looks like the children of Israel are what color? We've already ruled out white. So you said that you know that they're not white.
Based off of the leprosy from the Israelites.
Exactly. So far it looked like the children of Israel are more so of what color?
Probably black. Are you saying that the Nazarites and Israelites are different groups of people?
I can hear you. Repeat that. What you asking?
The Nazarites and Israelites, are these two different groups of people?
Yes. No. These are the same people. Nazarite comes from the like, you know how Christ was called a Nazarene.
Jesus Christ a Nazarene.
So you know that? You know about that?
I think so. I read it.
Let's go and read it. Matthew chapter 2. Let's go and read it right quick. Matthew chapter 2. We'll go ahead and get that real quick. The book of Matthew.
Mm-hmm. 2 verses.
We're going to Matthew chapter 2.
Verse 1.
Yeah, let's go ahead and read the context first. Go ahead and read verse 1.
Just after Jesus had been born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, look, astrologers from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, where is the one born king of the Jews? We saw his east star when we were in the east, and we had come to do a base. In this king was a gate.
Hey, hold it down, y'all. I'm live.
And all Jerusalem with him. And get all the chief priests, scribes, and people. He inquired to them, Christ was to be born. They said to him, in Bethlehem of Judea, for this is how it has been written to the prophets. And you, O Bethlehem of the land of Judah, are by no means the most insignificant city among the governors of Judah, for out of you will come a governing one who will shepherd my people Israel. So
notice and let you know that the Messiah came to rule over what nation? Israel. See that? He didn't come to rule over no religion. He said to rule over his people Israel. But that's another topic, though.
Written through the prophet.
Mm-hmm. That's talking about the prophet Micah. All right. So now, but before we deal with that, let's go to verse 22 and 23. Let's go ahead and read that.
It says that hearing that,
I'm gonna go ahead and read it. I'm gonna go ahead and read it. It says, but when he heard that Archelaus did reign in Judea, which is another word for Judah, it says, in the room of his father Herod, he was afraid to go thither, meaning there. Notwithstanding, being warned of the Most High in a dream, he turned aside to the parts of Galilee. Now here we go, verse 23. And he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth. All right. Now remember, we spoke earlier about a Nazarite, right? It said that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophets, he shall be called a Nazarene. Now get this. You got some people today that'll say, well, I don't read where the prophet spoke about him in anything about it being a Nazareth. That's because you got to go into the Hebrew. So when you go into the Hebrew language, you'll learn that the word Nazareth has the root word Netzar, which means a branch. So in the book of Isaiah, chapter 11 and verse 1, I'll read it in Hebrew. All right. Go ahead. Go to Isaiah 11 right quick.
Isaiah 11.
Mm-hmm. The book of Isaiah, chapter 11. Verse 1. Verse 1.
Says, will grow out of the stump of Jesse, and the sprout from his roots will bear fruit.
Some of that sprout meaning a branch. So in Hebrew, it's the word vayazah, which means and there shall come forth. The word choter, meaning a staff. Then the word mi-gezah, meaning from the stem. Then you have the word Yeshai, which means of Jesse. Then we have the word ve, which means and a. Then the Hebrew word netzer, meaning a branch. There you go, right there. So dealing with the Nazarene, it's coming from the Hebrew word netzer, meaning a branch. Then you have the word misharashiv, meaning from his roots. Then you have the word yifre, meaning and shall grow. So dealing with that, you have the Hebrew word, the root word natsar or netzer, and that's talking about a branch. So Christ himself was called a Nazarite. You got that?
Yeah.
So if Christ was called a Nazarite, you told me earlier that you would go to Africa looking for those people with those locks because they look like them Rastafarians, right?
It depends according to social studies that they are the ones carrying the locks at the moment.
Now watch
there
this.
Are people of different sorts doing it, but they're mostly ones portrayed through social media.
So now watch this. Now think about it. Now remember who you call Christ, Yeshua, Yahushua. He had to go and flee. Remember, he had to go and hide
from people, the scribes and Pharisees trying to kill him.
No, when Herod was trying to kill him.
Herod, yeah.
Now get this. Where did they go and hide?
Was it Nazareth?
No.
I had lost my place.
No, I was saying, I remember the story where Jesus had to go and hide? What place in the world did he have to go and hide? When his parents took him because they want to kill him.
When he was a baby, right?
Yeah.
Being born.
What place in the world did he go and hide?
Bethlehem.
Nope. He was born in Bethlehem. Let's go ahead and read it. Let's go into we in chapter 2. Let's go back to Matthew chapter 2.
That's what I was saying. I lost my place there. I was trying to get back.
It's all good. Matthew. Yeah, it's all good. Matthew chapter 2.
Chapter 2 verse.
Starting verse 12.
They departed for their country by another way to their sentence. So yeah. Continue reading.
Yeah, go ahead.
Says after they had departed, looked over, his angel appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, "Get up, take the young child and his mother, and flee to Egypt." Oh, it was an angel going to flee to Egypt.
They flee what now? Egypt is in what country today? What continent?
I didn't forget. Hold on.
It's in Africa. Today, the capital of Egypt is Cairo. It's in Africa. Now, today, those white folks got people thinking it's the Middle East. That's Africa. There's 54 countries in Africa, and Egypt is one of them. Egypt is one of them. And then,
Israel and
Iran. Hold on 1 second, okay, brother? Hold on 1 second, okay? Now, look, I put them on hold, y'all. Look, in the Hebrew text, in the Hebrew New Testament, for those who are looking, I'm going to show you real quick. Hold on. Matthew 2. Hold on 1 second. I got him on hold. Okay, here we go. Hanumir Alpi, Hanivazim Key. That's right. Here we go. Right here. There it is, right there in Hebrew. All right. Right in the Hebrew text. Boom. Right there. For those who read Hebrew, he was called a Nazarene, a Nazarite, which means a branch. All right. That's why the Messiah is called a branch. But of course, I can't go over that with him right there. That's too much meat right now. All right. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we see that he went to Egypt. Now get this. What color are the ancient Egyptians?
Ancient Egyptians?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
That's okay. Look, I'm gonna go ahead and paint a picture for you. Are you familiar with Tutankhamun, also known as King Tut?
Not really.
You never heard of King Tut?
I might have.
Interesting. Okay. Well, look, check this out. You at your computer right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I want you to look this up. King Tut. King Tut's his tomb was discovered November 22nd. Was it November 22nd, 1922? I want to say. Look up what he looked like.
He looks to computer images.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of looks like a white boy.
Nah, not that new stuff. I'm talking about when they discovered this. When they discovered it. When they discovered his tomb, what did they see? Because these white folks is covering it up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So look it up real quick. And I want you to tell me what color he had on. I know when you see it.
There are these Egyptians. They do have the same features as the Saudi Arabian.
No, those are your modern fake Egyptians. I want you to look at when they discovered his tomb. It was in November 1922.
November 1922.
Mm-hmm. When they found it, what did he look like? Because there's a big cover up that's going on today.
You mean what he looks like as a decomposed body?
I don't know what you looking at.
Under embalming.
Okay, yeah, the decomposed body. But what else? The statue. It's another statue.
Does the statue have a name?
Huh?
Does the statue have a name?
Well, his name is Tutankhamun.
Did you mention it was a statue?
Yeah. So like it's a statue in the museum today. What does that statue look like?
A statue of him?
Mm-hmm.
In which museum?
It might be in the British Museum, matter of fact. It's where is that museum? It might be in Britain. It gotta be in Britain.
Britain.
Uh-huh. Type in you should probably type in King Tut Black and then click on images. Let me do it too. Hold on. Tutankhamun. Yeah, I found it. I gotta pull it up right now. Right here. Tutankhamun. He have on all gold with a staff in his hand.
Staff.
Mm-hmm.
All 15 historical figures you didn't know were black.
Yep. What color is he?
He's all dark.
So now get this. If we found out that Christ had to go and flee to Egypt, which would make sense, because if you're going next door to hide amongst black people, you would be a lot harder to find from some white Romans. Also,
you were saying that when they fled to Egypt,
they hid amongst blacks. Yes.
So he hid in Egypt. So the soldiers still went through Egypt, but didn't find.
Think about it. How would you find a black people amongst other blacks? Now watch. Now remember. Now get this. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Now get this. I'm going to show you that the children of Israel looked a lot similar to who we call the Egyptians. I'll give you some clues. Remember early in the conversation, we remember Moses' hand was turned white, right?
Yeah, Moses' hand, yeah.
And remember, we just seen some of his relatives, like Samson, who had locks, and the children of Israel who had locks. And you said they look like the Rastafarians, which are black people, right?
Yeah.
Now get this. Let's go to Exodus chapter 2. We're going to get some more hints. Exodus chapter 2. Exodus chapter 2. Tell me when you're there. Okay.
Exodus chapter 2.
Yeah. All right, so Exodus chapter 2, starting in verse 19.
It says, but he went out on a following day, and there were two Hebrew men fighting with each other. So he said to the one in the wrong, "Why do you strike your companion?" At this he said, "Who appointed you as the prince and the judge over us? Are you planning to kill us just as you killed the Egyptian?" Moses was now afraid and said, "Surely the matter has become known." And the Pharaoh heard of it, and he attempted to kill Moses, but Moses ran away from Pharaoh and went to dwell in the land of Midian.
Now, Midian is known today as Saudi Arabia. Now, let's continue. What is this says?
Now, the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and these came to draw water and to fill the troughs to water their father's flock. As usual, the shepherds came and drove them away. At this, Moses got up and helped the women and watered their flock. And they came home to their father Reuel. He exclaimed, "How is it that you have come home so quickly today?" They replied, "A certain Egyptian rescued us from
Hold on. What did they call it? They thought Moses was a what?
An Egyptian.
What color were the Egyptians? We just saw them. We just saw people like King Tut.
In that picture, and if you talk about King Tut, if they were black and Moses was black, it would have thought he was an Egyptian.
Now remember, you said earlier. Remember you said earlier that Moses couldn't have been white. Remember you said that?
Yeah, because he had the leprosy in his hand and turned white.
You see what I'm saying? And now we seen that they in Egypt, which is in ancient Africa. They're in ancient Africa, a hot place, a desert. And he fled to Saudi Arabia, another desert, another hot place. And they thought them 7 daughters called that man an Egyptian. So that lets you know that his skin color had to look a lot like the Egyptians.
Either that he told him he was an Egyptian.
Yeah. So now get this. Let's get some more hints. Let's go to Genesis chapter 50. This was the story where Jacob, when he got buried. Genesis chapter 50. I'm not Joseph, I mean. All right. This is when Joseph had to go and bury Jacob. You ready?
What?
I can't hear you. What?
Genesis 50 verse what?
I'm going to start in verse 5.
You go ahead.
All right. We're going to start in verse 5. It says, I'm going to start in 7. It says, and Joseph went up to bury his father. And with him went up, now pay very close attention to the details that Moses wrote down. Look at what he said. Look who went with him. It says, and went up with him all the servants of Pharaoh. So these are all Egyptians, right? It says, the elders of his house and all the elders of the land of Egypt. Now, if they look like King Tut, that look like a bunch of niggas, a bunch of black people, right? Yeah. So look at this. It says, and all the house of Joseph. That means house meaning family. It says, and his brethren and his father's house. Only their little ones and their flocks and their herds they left in the land of Goshen, which is also Egypt. Then it says, and there went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great company, meaning it was a lot of them, right? Now watch this. Verse 10, and they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond Jordan. And there they mourned, meaning that they lament, they were crying. It says, with a great and very sore lamentation. And he made a mourning for his father 7 days. Now look at this. Pay close attention. Verse 11 is very important because you're about to see what the people of the land, the residents, is saying about them people that came up, that large company that we just read about, Joseph, Pharaoh, all the servants. Look at what they said, the witnesses who witnessed this. Look at what they said. And when the inhabitants of the land of the Canaanites saw the mourning in the floor of Atad, they said, now look at what they said. This is a grievous mourning to the who? Egyptians. Egyptians. So that letting you know that the people who wasn't whose land they came into, they thought that they were all Egyptians. You're not going to confuse a nation that looks like Jim Carrey and a nation that looks like Wesley Snipes. So for the fact that they said that they all Egyptians, that means that their skin color had to look very similar to the people who they were with.
In fact, they have the Pharaoh's servants and the elders of his court.
Yes.
And the elders in the land of Egypt. There wasn't no way they were going to tell them apart.
You see that?
All those people.
So look, so let's keep that same energy. Let's say if you had a bunch of, I'm just going to say African Americans, a bunch of Jamaicans, a bunch of people from Trinidad and Tobago, a bunch of people from Haiti, and a bunch of people from Nigeria, all marching down the street. And we all had the same similar clothes on. Would people mistake us all for being the same people? Yes, because our skin color looks alike. That makes sense?
Yeah, very likely.
Yeah. So if we had some white people amongst us, right, who's dressed like us, they're going to stand out like a sore thumb. And you're going to know, okay, well, they're a little different. Think about it. Black people can move in a white person's neighborhood and they'll stick out like a sore thumb. Or a white person can move in a black people's neighborhood and they'll stick out like a sore thumb. So the fact that the Canaanites called them all Egyptians, that lets us know that they had to look alike. Moses lived in Pharaoh's house for 40 years. Right? Yeah. Acts chapter 7 lets us know that. So going back in verse 11, it says, and when the inhabitants of the land of the Canaanites saw the mourning of the floor of Atad, they said, this is a grievous mourning to the Egyptians. Wherefore the name of it was called Abel Misraim. Now anybody who know Misraim is Egypt. That's the Hebrew word for Egypt. It says,
and these officers, they were just attending with Joseph and his family, right?
And his family. So now we see that they all had to look alike.
And Joseph also had a prominent position in Egypt.
Yes.
He had the clothing and appearance of an Egyptian.
Absolutely. Let's read that. Let's go to Genesis 41. Let's read that right quick. Genesis chapter 41, verse 41. We'll read that. You are correct. Genesis 41 and 41. All right, it says. All right. It says, and Pharaoh said unto Joseph, see, I have set thee over all the land of Misraim, or Egypt in Hebrew. It says, and Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand and put it upon Joseph's hand and arrayed him in vestures or clothes of fine linen and put a gold chain about or around his neck. Verse 43. And he made him to ride in the second chariot which he had. And they cried before him. Then it says, bow the knee, and he made him ruler over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and without thee, meaning again, without your permission, in other words, he says, shall no man lift up his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. So letting you know he was great and he was a powerful man in Egypt and an Israelite. So here we go, seeing that when he went to go and bury his father, he looked a lot like the Egyptians. Now get this. Did you know his own brothers couldn't even recognize him when because remember they had sold him off. You remember that story? They sold him off to the
brothers sold him.
Yeah, Genesis 39 tell you
the brothers convinced him not to kill him in the pit.
That was Judah.
Instead.
So look, yeah. So when you look at Genesis 39, you will see that they sold him to the Ishmaelites, and the Ishmaelites sold him to the Egyptians, I believe. So now going into chapter 42, let's read that right quick. Genesis chapter 42. Let's get that. Genesis 42. This is when the famine there was a famine in the land, and his brothers, his blood brothers, who ain't seen him in a long time, came to get food or grain or what you call corn. But check it out. Genesis chapter 42. I'm gonna start in verse 5. I'm starting 4. No, I'm gonna do 3. All right, it says, I'm gonna just back up to 1, brother. Forget it. Verse 1. Except before we can get the whole context. It says, now when Jacob saw that there was corn in Egypt, Jacob said unto his sons, why do you look up one upon another? Verse 2. And he said, behold, I have heard that there is corn in Egypt. Right? So he says, get thee down there a thither and buy for us from thence, that we may live and not die. So now they like, look, I heard of some corn down in Egypt. And at this time, they in the famine in the land of Canaan. Go on down there and get us something to eat so we don't die. Verse 3. And Joseph's 10 brethren went down to buy corn in Egypt. But Benjamin, Joseph's brother, Jacob sent not with his brother. For he said, lest peradventure or perhaps mischief befall him, meaning evil fall upon him. Verse 5. And the sons of Israel came to buy corn among those that came, for the famine was in the land of Canaan. So now you see that they coming from the land of Canaan and they going down to Egypt to buy corn because of the famine. And all his brothers went except for Benjamin, right? Yes?
The last part, could you repeat that? I ain't get.
I was saying that so far we learned that there was a famine in the land of Egypt. I'm sorry, in the land of Canaan. And their dad sent them to Egypt, everybody except for Benjamin. Benjamin stayed behind. So
he stayed behind again for.
You want me to read that again? Why you stay behind?
Yeah, it just left me.
It's all good. Verse 4. It's all good. Verse 4. It says, but Benjamin, Joseph's brother, Jacob, sent not with his brethren. So he didn't send them with his brothers. For he said, lest peradventure, meaning perhaps, mischief fall before him. So that's why he didn't go.
Concerned about his well-being.
Yeah. So so now we down in verse 6 now. It says in verse 6, and Joseph was the governor over the land, talking about Egypt. And he it was that sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brethren came, and watch this, and bowed down themselves before him with their faces to the earth. And Joseph knew his brethren, right? And Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, meaning he recognized them, but made himself strange unto them, and spoke roughly to them. And he said to them, whence come ye? And they said, from the land of Canaan to buy food. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew him not. So his own brothers didn't even recognize him. Now, you know, and I know that if a black man is dressed like a white man, let's just say in a Ku Klux Klan outfit, and you see his hands and his eyes and his face, you're going to know that's a black man under that. So if the children of Israel were white and we see the Egyptians are black, they would immediately recognize their brother. But the fact of the matter is, because they looked alike, and when they approached him, obviously they knew that he was a ruler because they saw him. And when they saw him, they bowed down. These are indications letting you know that Joseph, Joseph, who was sold, also looked like the Egyptians. Moses, also looked like the Egyptians. We read earlier where Moses' sister in Numbers 12, 1 through 10, her skin was turned leprous white as snow. We learned that Moses' hand was turned white as snow in Exodus chapter 4, 1 through 6. We learned that the children of Israel had locks in their heads. We learned that Samson, who was a Nazarite from his birth, also had 7 locks in his head. And you said they looked like the Rastafarians and it looked like people in Africa. So I said, okay, well, Jesus also was called a Nazarene or a Nazarite. And he himself had to go in Africa. So far, what we've gathered, the children of Israel had to look like what race of people in America today? Who would you say?
What race of people, what?
That you see in America. You know, you got a lot of people that live in America today. You got your white people, right? You got your Chinese people who live in America. You got Japanese people, right? You got African Americans, that you would call them, that live in America. So what race of people, what neighborhood would you go to find those same people?
Black people.
What color people?
Okay.
Your phone breaking up. What color people?
You say define black people. What neighborhood would I go in?
Yeah. So you saying what color people would you go and look for them?
Now you were telling me to find these type of people.
Yeah.
Which
so
neighborhood I go in?
Yeah. So what neighborhood would you go into? What community would you go into?
A neighborhood where there are black people.
All right. So now that we know that, so far, that would mean that the children of Israel have to look like what color people then, brother?
Black.
Thank you. That's common sense. Now get this. Church folks be reading the Bible all their damn life, and they can't understand that because religion has blinded our people. Once you take religion off the table, you will see that the Bible is a black history book. Egypt or Kemet or Chem or Kemet is in Egypt. They were black people. The children of Israel look like them. And get this, Israel is next door to Egypt.
You ran across a religion that told you that the Israelites are not black or a Pacific color?
Yes, including yours. When I come across Jehovah Witnesses, I'll ask them what color the Jews are they. They'll play stupid. They'll say, well, you know, they're scattered, or you know, it's a mixture. And I'm like, brother, look, you know what I'm asking you. What color would they would look closely to today? It's so hard to get religious folks to say black. They don't want to say that.
You mentioned fake Saudi Arabians and fake Egyptians today. We just haven't been at that time frame. But what you were saying, based off of the prophets who had leprosy and turned white, they're obviously a different color, darker color, black probably.
Yes, these are clues that they don't look like. So look, I'll even go as far as to say this. These are what so far what we went over, because there's so many scriptures, but I just want to give you like the I guess you could say common sense scriptures, because all the person gotta do is have all the person gotta do is have a common sense. So I wanted to deal with that. So dealing with this, when you look at those movies today, when you look at the pictures today of the children of Israel and Moses, right? What color are the children of Israel always portrayed? What color?
I actually didn't watch those movies. As far as I can remember, the Prince of Egypt cartoon animation.
They were dark.
They were black.
Yeah, look, hey, look. We can agree on that. But I'm talking biblical movies, though. When you see Jesus, when you see the Jews, right? Or when you see biblical movies where Moses has to go to Pharaoh, what color are those people in those movies? What a matter of fact, here's a realistic question. If I was saying, look, go find me the people that look like these people that be in the biblical movies, what race or what community would you go to?
Well, I would go to the countries where Bible events had taken place.
That's not what I'm asking you.
Egypt.
Look, pay attention to what I'm asking you. These movies that you see today, right? Like biblical movies.
I don't watch them. That's the
well,
thing.
you said earlier you watched the movie Noah, right?
And my mother snatched me out of there so quick.
But remember you described to me you saw the movie Noah earlier, right?
Everybody was white in that movie.
They were what color?
They were white in that movie.
All right then. So now we see now so you see what I'm saying, bro? Come on now. So do they look like the color of people that you see in the Bible? No. That's common sense. So the whole thing about it is, brother, me and you are grown men, and we ain't stupid. We know when we being lied to. We know this. We have discernment. So here it is. I'm reading out of the very book that people because you got people today that don't mess with the Bible because they'll say that the Bible is a white man's book. And I asked them, well, damn, well, what's white about the Bible besides the pages? Because the Bible is just as black as the words that are in it.
They talk about the people that translated in English, the Catholic priests and all that.
Well, no, that's look, even dealing with that's a big hell no. See, and that's another, how can I put this? Your religion is spreading misinformation. Misinformation. So when we get done talking about this color, we can go into dealing with translations. But and as you know, I already read the Hebrew language, so that we can definitely talk translations. You know what I'm saying? So you already know that.
But I was just going off what you were saying with somebody claiming that the Bible is a white man's book.
Yeah, well, the one of the main reasons why they say that because they think that King James was a white boy. I did a documentary on YouTube. It's called King James on Trial. King James on Trial, and it's a 7-hour, 58-minute documentary going and showing how blacks ruled and dominated Europe, and showing that even his bloodline and everything were black people. You see what I'm saying? So now get this. This is the kicker. You are the first Jehovah Witness that I have ever spoken to that has the balls to tell the truth about, and it could have been black. When talking to more Jehovah Witnesses, they don't want to discuss color. They hate to do that. So that lets me know that they hate.
Ignorance is not going to give someone salvation. I just know that part. You always have to fact check, do your research. And there are a lot of people in every religion who just sit and go to church and they don't even read the Bible for themselves. Like I read from Genesis to Revelation, but I'm still young.
No doubt, me too.
Keep reading that,
and look,
go back over and look at it.
No doubt, look, we are all still learning. I've only been in this Bible since 2012. You know what I'm saying? So we are all still learning. Look, we in the learning process. We all learning. I get it. You know, you will come across something that you probably didn't. You know what I'm saying? That I probably seen that you didn't see. That don't make me smarter than you. That don't make you stupid. That just means that the Lord showed me something that, you know what I'm saying, that you have yet to see yet. Or there's some things that I'm sure you can teach me that I haven't seen. Like, we don't know everything, but we are all learning, and we are all trying our best to be students and to be followers of who you call Jehovah today. You know what I'm saying? Now get this. Remember we were talking about color, right? Let's go to Daniel, the book of Daniel, and we're going to go to chapter 10. Daniel, matter of fact, we're going to go to chapter 2 first, because now we go to 10. I'll deal with that later. Daniel chapter 10. Because you know that Daniel chapter 2, verse 22 and 22 to 25, we learned that Daniel was of Judah, right?
Hold on, I'm trying to find this.
Okay, yeah, I apologize. Go ahead, brother.
Daniel 10,
verse 5. See, y'all, it don't always cause for like some Israelites, y'all trying to edify people and gain souls. You ain't got to be yelling at them all the damn time. Sometimes it's reason with these people. You know what I'm saying? If they trying to learn, man, beat, you know what I'm saying? We can do a lot better.
10 verse 5.
Yes, sir. Yeah, yes, sir. So Daniel 10 and verse 5.
And saw men clothed in linen, and around his waist was a belt of gold from Uphaz.
Mm-hmm.
His body was like chrysolite. His face had the appearance of lightning. His eyes were like fiery torches. Arms and his feet looked like burnished copper.
Hold on, whoa. Hold on, wait. Did you hear that? Oh, wait a minute. So Daniel is describing the Lord. And look at what he said he looked like. Notice, let's go back real quick. Let's go back to 5. And let's re-examine what we just read. All right. So kind of like what people say it louder for the people in the back.
I hear that.
So notice Daniel he has a vision. And look at what he's saying in his vision. He's saying, then I lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz. But look at verse 6. He says his body was also like the beryl, and his face as the appearance of lightning, meaning he had a glow to him, this man. He says, and his eyes, look what he compared it to, as lamps of fire. That means he had red eyes. And then he say, and his arms and his feet, look at what he compared it to. What your Bible say? He compared it to what?
Like burnished copper.
Like burnished what?
I had never heard that word before.
Yeah, so look. He said like what color did he say?
Burnished copper. I thought it said furnished copper.
Look, burnished copper. A penny is what color?
Copper.
And if you burn it, it turns what color?
I've never seen that.
Brother, think about, look, let's use our common sense. If you take a penny and you put fire to it, is it going to turn white?
It'll turn.
Come on, brother.
I'm looking up Google pictures of
okay.
burn a penny, and it's dark.
It's
green.
Dark. So if I told you right now, go in a neighborhood and find me a man that looked like the Lord, what neighborhood are you going to? What? Come on, brother. What neighborhood you going to? You got to find them. Who you going to? Talk to me.
Black people.
Black people. Black people. But in the movies, they what color? White. Somebody lying. Is it the producers? But wait a minute, brother. It knows producers who's putting out these biblical movies. Aren't they Jewish? Don't they own Hollywood? Yes. So it would make sense that they would put movies that look like their people. But when you go into the Bible, it paints a totally different picture. Now get this. So in my text, in the King James Version, it says, again, it says at the end of verse 6, in the middle to the end, it says, and his arms and his feet like in color to polished brass. Polish means burnt. Brass is copper. Then it says, and the voice of his words were like the voice of a multitude. Now get this, brother. Daniel also had another vision. Let's go back to chapter 7. He saw God sitting on a throne that was made of fire. And let's see how he described his hair. Let's go to
chapter what?
Daniel chapter 7. Daniel chapter 7. Hey, y'all, I ain't never had a conversation like this with a Jehovah Witness. This is powerful right now. Y'all don't hear Jehovah Witness talk like this. Man, he a deep Jehovah Witness guy.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm sorry. What'd you say?
You said verse what?
Verse 9. So it says, I beheld till the thrones were cast down. So a throne is something you sit on, right?
Which verse you said again? Chapters? Oh, no, I'm in Matthew. Never mind.
You all good. You all good, brother. You all good, sir.
I was at Daniel, and I don't know what happened there.
Hey, you look. You all good. You all good. We in Daniel 7. In your book, in the Jehovah Witness book, it's in chapter. It's on page 1217. I'm sorry, 12. Well, you going to 1218?
I'm familiar where the books are.
Okay.
I ended up in Matthew for whatever reason.
Okay.
So I took a pen out and had bookmark, but okay, chapter 7, verse 5.
Mm-hmm. So get this. Here we go. Now, chapter 7, verse 9.
I kept watching till thrones were set in place, and the Ancient of Days sat down. His clothing was white like snow.
So hold on, stop right there. Hold on, look. Notice it now is describing his clothes, and it said his clothes was what?
White like snow.
So his clothes is white like snow. What else did it say?
His hair on his head was like clean wool.
Whoa, hold on, wait a minute. His hair looked like what?
His hair looked like clean wool.
Clean wool. You know what that means? Pure. Pure wool. Mm-hmm. So, brother, what people, if I say, hey, brother, you need to go in the neighborhood, I need you to find me somebody who got woolly hair. Who are you going to, brother?
Well, I don't know any black people that got white locks. I'll tell you that. So clean wool is a different color from black.
No. Look, the word clean just means pure, as in the sense of wholeness. So all of his hair looked like what? Wool. Wool is it thin or is it thick?
Wool is a thick.
It's thick. So if I say, come on, brother, find me somebody with pure woolly hair, where you going?
Oh, the density of locks.
Hey, so
what people who got the locks.
All right, and what color people are those?
Oh, the black one.
Okay, so that means God was what color?
Well, Jehovah does not have a literal form.
Well, brother, you just read it. Hold on, wait a minute.
That was in a vision. Representation.
So Daniel was all right. So look, I'm gonna meet you where you at. You're saying that it's a vision, correct?
Yes, because
was he hallucinating?
We already know that no man could see Jehovah.
We'll get there. We got you. That's Exodus 33. I'll get that. Trust me. You're misunderstanding scripture, but I'll get that. But let's follow me. I'm gonna meet you where you at. You said that was in Daniel's vision, right? So my question is, was Daniel hallucinating?
That scripture is recorded, his vision.
So, which means that Daniel really saw it, right? So my question is, was he seeing things? Is in the sense of he was going crazy?
No.
So Daniel was a prophet of God, right?
Yeah.
Was Daniel seeing a lie?
No, he was not.
So he saw God sitting on a throne. God allowed him to see that. Not in the physical sense, but in the sense of a vision, like you said. So, brother, are you telling me that if, hypothetically speaking, if you saw what God looked like in your dream, you're going to die? No. What you're describing is seeing the physical sense of seeing God and dying. Right? Yeah. So now, brother, Daniel, who you said who wasn't hallucinating, clearly wasn't on no drugs. Daniel was describing what he saw that God allowed him to see. So, brother, I'm going to ask you again. Where in the world can I find somebody that looked like God, according to what Daniel saw? What color people are those?
Look like God with the wool hair.
And not just the woolly hair, but had the burnt copper. Where they at, brother?
Wait, what was his appearance as far as the burnt copper? Which part of that was?
That was Daniel 10, 5 and 6.
Yeah. Very humble. Burnished copper, his arms and feet.
Mm-hmm.
Arms and feet like burnished copper.
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
So, what is the connection with the people with locks?
You said what was that? I didn't quite.
So, what is the connection with the people with locks.
We're not talking about them right now. We only talking about that Daniel, how he described the Lord. So I'm asking, what if I was to tell you, look, brother, go find me somebody that look like their skin is burnt, and find me somebody who got pure woolly hair. What neighborhood are you going to? Because Daniel described that as God. Who you gonna go and find?
Well, the people with dark skin and woolly hair. Africans with locks.
Well, you said who?
Black people with locks.
Black people with locks. So according to what you just read, what color would you say that God is? According to what we just read,
God has an appearance of burnished copper on his arms and feet.
So what color would you say that God more than likely is, according to what we just read?
Honestly, I couldn't answer that.
But brother, remember,
I don't know how to answer that question.
You only answer it with common sense. We just you just described what you just said out of your common sense. Now I know you, of course, you're gonna do your research. I don't blame that. But according to what you just read, God is what color? Come on, brother, right here and right now. Because you ain't never read no scriptures that gave us a sense of what he could have looked like up until now. So up until right now, what you read in your Jehovah Witness Bible, more than likely, God is what color?
Are you trying to tell me black?
I ain't trying to you nothing. I'm trying to get your common sense. You said earlier that the children of Israel wasn't white. You said that Jesus looked like he was black. And the children of Israel.
Particularly those who were struck. So I can speak on. Particularly those who were struck with leprosy that turned their skin white. That's all I will speak on.
Okay, so what about it? What about these skin turning leprosy?
And the people who blended with the other nations.
Now, don't say people. Just look, what the Israelites,
Egyptians.
So and they were
Jacob's promised seed, Abraham's promised seed. I mean.
Yeah, correct. So, and what color were they?
Black.
Black. Yeah. So look, they're God. They're God who created them, who dealt with them, who gave them miracles, signs, and wonders that he made a covenant with. We just seen and described what they look like. You just said earlier, if I'm gonna ask you again, brother. Find me somebody whose skin looked like it was burnt copper and got pure woolly hair. And I'll put a picture of a Chinese man, a Japanese man, right? A white man, and a black man. Which man would you pick that looks closer to God?
It looks closer to the burnt copper look to be the black man.
All right. So more than likely, God is what color? He looked like what man?
Based off of that analogy, black.
Black. Based off that.
These two different dreams, God was white.
No.
And this one, he was copper.
All right. Remember that word copper. That word copper. Can you hear me?
Because the next one, he had a white robe.
He had a white what? He had a white what?
White robe.
Not a white skin, but a white what?
White robe.
White robe, brother. A white robe. That's what he had, brother.
Trying to find that. Which one was it again? We was talking about his wool.
His wool? Yeah, okay, so
chapter 10.
Okay, so look, real quick. Remember we were talking about the color. I want to say something with the color. All right. So in the Hebrew, you have the root word, it's called nechosheth or nechoshet. And that's talking about brown. I'm sorry, as brown as in dark. That's what the copper means. Brass. But remember, we described as being burnt. Right? Which is in the King James Version, is the word polished. So dealing with the word polished, now get that open. The word polished.
Okay, So 7
Now
and
do it in
9
there.
is not.
Open it.
It's only talking about his hair and clothes.
So now, my bad, I couldn't hear you. What were you saying?
7 and verse 9 was only talking about his clothes and hair, not his actual arms and legs like the other one.
Yeah, we agree. Yeah, we agree. That's why I took you to both, because he had more than one vision, like you were saying. So now we see.
I was trying to figure out that because there were 2 different appearances.
But look, it wasn't 2 different men.
No, 2 different persons.
Yeah, it wasn't 2 different people. So Daniel was describing him in one verse, and he described him in another one. So in one vision, he saw him sitting on a throne made of fire, and in another vision, he saw what? His arms and his feet.
Which one? I had lost that one. Which one was that again?
Which one?
One was the burn, the copper arms and legs.
Okay, Daniel chapter 10. Boy, it's hard for people to say black, boy.
Chapter 10, verses 6. Yeah, 10, verse 6.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, read it.
Again, his body is like chrysolite. His face had the appearance of lightning. I don't know what chrysolite look like, so I have to type that in.
Go ahead, brother. Yeah, do your thing.
It's a green color.
Mm-hmm. Like barrel.
So it's saying that his body was like crystal light.
Mm-hmm.
Face had the appearance of lightning. Eyes like fire torches. Arms and feet like burnished copper.
Mm-hmm.
Not legs, but feet.
Mm-hmm.
And the sound of his words was like the sound of a multitude.
Because remember, he had a deep and a powerful voice. So now dealing with that means he had a glow to him, and he kind of like what they show I guess you could say spiritual figures in like movies. They have like this glow to them. So remember, this is written in the ancient vibration, and he's describing what he is seeing. So, and now remember, your arms and your feet match your skin color, right? So we know nobody went and walk around literally looking like no damn Shrek. So dealing with that, you get your other hint. Dang, he had pure wool hair, right? So I'm gonna ask you again, brother. A person who arms and feet look like burnt copper, and a person who has thick woolly hair. What neighborhood would you go to show me? Well, God had to look like them. You got a Chinese man, Arab man, Indian man, Japanese man, white man, black man. What race of what man would you say he looked closer to?
That God looks closer to.
Yeah. What would he look closer to?
I think that's going a little bit too out there for me, honestly.
I'm
say that God looks like, because he made man in his image.
Well, we'll get to that in a second, brother. But I'm asking you, what color would he look closer to?
According to the hands, the arms and feet, it'll be the black person.
It would be the black person. All right. Now, so dealing with that, we see that the children of Israel, right? You would say they were people of color. Now watch this. I'm sorry, you were saying something? I didn't mean to cut you off.
What the seed of Israel?
Yeah, so the children of Israel, right? Now, since we in Daniel, we finna get another clue on what color the children of Israel could have been as well. Okay? Let's go to matter of fact, now, before we do, all right, hold Daniel, because we're gonna come back to Daniel, so don't lose your spot. So we're gonna come right back to Daniel. I want you to hold it as a bookmark. And I want you to turn your Bible to Revelation chapter 2. Matter of fact, chapter 1. Let's go to chapter 1 first.
Revelation chapter 1.
Yeah. So I'm going to start in verse 1. I'm reading out of your version. out of your version Bible that you read. So it says, and this ain't the King James, so this is out of the New World Translation. It says, a revelation by Jesus Christ, which God gave him to show his slaves, meaning his servants, the things that must shortly take place. That's what he showed them, right? And he sent his angel or messenger and presented it in signs through him to his slave John, or to his servant John, who bore witness. Now look at this. Look at what it says. It said, who bore witness to the word of God, gave and to the witness Christ gave, yes, to all things he what? Saw. So John wrote down everything that he saw, right? You say yes?
He said he bore witness to the word God gave to the witness Jesus Christ gave to all the things he saw.
Yeah, so John was writing down everything that he saw and witnessed, right? Now let's see what he described Christ as looking like in chapter 2. Let's go to chapter 2 right quick. John is writing down what he saw in his vision, and John was a prophet and wrote these things down. So we're in Revelation chapter 2. I want you to read it out of your version.
At verse what?
Revelation chapter 2 and verse 18.
Says, to the angel of the congregation in Thyatira, write, these are the things that the Son of God says, the one who has eyes like a fiery flame and whose feet are like fine copper.
Whoa, what does that word fine mean? Don't that means burnt? Fine means
fine copper.
Fine copper. What does fine means?
It's a different word than burnished copper.
What you got?
But the same appearance, bronze look.
Now we know ain't no man walk around looking like a hold on one second. Hold on, brother. Okay. All right. So now dealing with that, notice it says fine brass, right? Fine. When you look that up, you will see when you look that up in a concordance, it'll tell you burnished copper. That's what it'll tell you. You see that?
Yeah, brass is actually a golden appearance.
Correct, but remember it has the word finished. That means burnished. That's the part you gotta catch. That means
talking about copper.
Yeah, but copper that's fine, meaning that it's burnt. So now get this. Let's go to chapter 1 right quick. Chapter 1. Revelation chapter 1, verse 14. It says matter of fact, let me pull it up in yours too. Hold on one second. Revelation chapter 1. Hold on, brother. Give me 1 second. Okay. You there? You with me? Okay, Revelation chapter 1 and verse yeah. So it says, moreover, his head and his hairs were white as white wool. Now let's stop there. Notice it compared his hair, because mine is slightly different in the King James version. But it's comparing his head to what? Wool, right? Wool, is that thick or is it thin?
It's thick.
All right. So you know what wool looks like. So then it goes on to say, you'll say, moreover, his head and his hairs were white as wool, as snow. So now you see it's very bright. And his eyes were like a fiery flame. Don't that sound like what we just read in Daniel 10 and 6?
It's probably where people got the idea of making a man-like appearance in the sky with white hair, but except they left out the fiery eyes and the lightning appearance and the copper feet.
And the copper feet was like a black man.
A man in old age, just white hair in the sky. That's the way they drew him.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So now get this. And in your book, it says in verse 15, and his feet were like fine copper. There it is again. When it says, how you say what?
That's two witnesses.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's right. So it say, and his feet were like fine copper. Remember, we established that means burnt brown, burnt brass. But look at this. When glowing in a what?
In a furnace.
Now let's stop and use our common sense. Don't nothing glow in no furnace. Something burns in the furnace, right?
It glows when it's heated.
All right, so look. So let's keep that same energy. If you take copper and put it in a furnace, what color is that going to turn? Talk to me.
Copper.
If you put copper, meaning
heated, if it's heated, it's gonna be an reddish brown color.
It's gonna hold on. Wait, what? It's gonna be what?
It's gonna be a reddish brown color.
So, all right. So look. Remember, you're burning it in a furnace. If you take a penny, right? What color is a penny? Copper, right?
Yeah.
And if you take a penny and you burn it in a furnace, what color is that penny gonna turn?
Burn it in a furnace.
Look that up. Go ahead, look it up.
Need to be sure. No.
Yeah, take your time.
Need to be sure. Looking at it because I don't watch videos of people burning copper.
It's all good. I blame religion. Religion has done a number on our people, so I get it.
There's one golf club that was burnt, has a rainbow-like color, but it's still copper brown.
Show me copper being burnt. A copper. You can start with a penny because you know a penny.
It looks like a fruitcake-looking version of bronze.
Brother, show me something copper that's being burnt. What color is it gonna turn?
I'm trying to find it now just to be sure.
Oh yeah, go ahead, be sure.
Because those are the pictures I was getting. Reddish, brown.
Think about something, brother. If you take a penny, right? Earlier you said that if you took a penny and burnt it, it'll turn black. Remember you said that?
It was a picture I saw, and it looked moldy green, and it had context burnt copper.
Well, we know we ain't finding no man that's walking around looking like Shrek. So let's use our common sense.
Or gain green.
A penny, brother, a copper penny. Do me a favor, brother. Just go on Google and type in copper burnt penny. Type that in. Copper burnt penny.
And first one is a dark, blackish brown penny.
So imagine that being burnt in a furnace. Something that's much more hotter. It's gonna look
greenish color.
It's look like what?
It got a little greenish color in it.
But what color person does that would be closer to today?
Black.
A black man. So that would mean that Christ more than likely was what color?
Black.
Black. Now get this.
I'm not saying that he was white or anything.
Yeah, no doubt. So now get this. Let's get some more evidence. Jesus Christ was called a Jew, right?
Yeah.
Because he was a tribe of Judah. Let's get some confirmation first. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 7 and verse 14. Let's grab that real quick.
Hebrews 13.
7, Hebrews chapter 7 and verse 14.
7:14.
What you will say?
Says, for it is clear to Lord has descended from Judah, yet Moses said nothing about priests coming from that tribe.
Absolutely. Talking about the priesthood. But now it just said that Jesus was a descendant of what tribe? Judah.
Judah.
Now, Judah, right? Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Abraham had a son named Isaac. Isaac had a son named Jacob, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And Jacob had 12 sons who became known as the children of Israel. Yes?
Yes, they would call him Israel.
Correct. That's Genesis 35 and 10. You're correct. So, Jacob, aka Israel, had 12 sons. His fourth son name was Judah. Did you know that?
It rings a bell.
All right, so look, let's go ahead and knock the bell off the damn hinges. Let's go to Genesis chapter 35. Genesis 35. Let's go ahead and be sure. Yeah, I have conversations like this all the time. I'm gonna just start recording a lot of my conversations. You know what I'm saying? Because hey, man, I go through the Genesis 35 and verse 22. We're starting 22.
It says, once while Israel was dwelling in that land, Reuben went and lay down with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Israel heard about it.
Right, now go ahead. Come on.
Was that supposed to happen?
Yeah. No, that wasn't supposed to happen. We'll talk about that too. But I want to deal with what's more important right now.
It says, so there were 12 sons of Jacob. The sons by Leah were Jacob's firstborn Reuben, then Simeon, Levi, Judah.
There it is. Hold on. Whoa. You see that? Judah, right? In verse 23.
Yeah, it is.
Now, we just read that Jesus is a descendant of who? Judah, right? Moses was a descendant of who? Levi, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Well, look, we got to be...
I don't have confirmation on that.
Look, we're going to get confirmation. Let's go to Exodus chapter 2. Let's go ahead and read that. Exodus chapter 2. Back to the story of Moses. Exodus chapter 2. Let's go ahead and get confirmation.
2 verse 1.
1. This is the story of Moses.
By the time a certain man of the house of Levi married the daughter of Levi.
Hold on, I couldn't hear you. Start over. Start over. What you say?
It's about that time a certain man of the house of Levi married a daughter of Levi.
Stop right there. Remember, we just read in Genesis 35 and 23 that was one of Jacob, aka Israel's sons. That was his third son, Levi. Now we're reading about a man that out of the house comes from the word bayit, which means family. Let you know he comes from the family of Levi, of the lineage of Levi. This is Moses' father that you're reading about right now. Okay? Let's continue.
And the woman became pregnant, she gave birth to a son. When she saw how beautiful he was, she kept him concealed for 3 months. When she was no longer able to conceal him, took a papyrus basket and coated with bitumen and pitched it and put the child in it and placed it among the reeds by the bank of the Nile River. But his sister stood at a distance to see what happened. When Pharaoh's daughter came down to bathe in the Nile, her female attendants were working by the side of the Nile. She caught sight of the basket in the middle of the reeds. She immediately went to send her slave girl who did it. She opened it, she saw the child, and the boy was crying. She couldn't pass her for him, but she said, "This is one of the children of the Hebrews." And his daughter said, "Yeah."
So look, she knew it was one of the child of the Hebrews, right?
Shall I go and call a nursing woman from the Hebrews to nurse the child for you? Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Go at once." The girl went and called the child's mother. Pharaoh's daughter then said to her, "Take this with you and nurse him for me, and I will pay you." But the woman took the child and nursed him. When the child grew older, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became a son to her. She named him Moses, and they said, "It is because I have drawn him out of the water."
So now, get this, brother. So that was Moses, right?
From the tribe of Levi.
From the tribe of Levi. And we just learned earlier that was Jacob's third son. Right? Hold it down. I'm live, y'all. So that's all good. I know you didn't know. So now dealing with that, we seeing that Moses was of the tribe of Levi. The fourth son of Jacob was Judah. Letting you know that Jesus and Moses are family. They're the same family tree. They come from Jacob, aka Israel. Is that a fact, brother? Did we knock the bell off the hinges or what?
And we read it.
So,
right there.
So now
Genesis 34.
35.
35.
Yeah. So now we done knocked the bell off the hinges. We now see that Jesus and Moses are family. They are related. Bloodline, right?
Which scripture is that again? It talks about the 12 sons.
That was Genesis 35, verse 22 to 26.
Okay, here we
go. You want to go back there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jacob, Leah, sons by Leah were Jacob's firstborn. Mm-hmm. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. The sons of Rachel, Joseph, and Benjamin. Now, the 12 is not immediately mentioned.
What do you mean you're not immediately mentioned?
They further.
Wait. You got to remember these were sons, right? Who formed other children, which became tribes. Their tribes haven't been started yet. They didn't have children yet. You're now reading at their birth. So as I was telling, that's what I was going to tell you earlier. Abraham had a son named Isaac. Isaac had a son named Jacob. Jacob's name was changed to Israel, who had 12 sons, who later became known as the children of Israel, or the 12 tribes of Israel. Jesus, who you call Jesus, is a direct descendant of those 12 tribes. Daniel, who we read about earlier, is a descendant of those 12 tribes. Moses, Samson, is a descendant of those 12 tribes. And you told me they look like the Rastafarians. Black. So that would mean that the children of Israel, or the Israelites, aka the 12 tribes of Israel, more than likely are what color, brother? Black. So why in the hell are we seeing white people in movies?
I ain't got nothing to do with the movies.
But hear me out though, brother. Hold up. But look, I ain't got nothing to do with the movies. I ain't asked you that. I'm asking you, why are we seeing white people in movies?
And why are we seeing white people?
I mean, I'm asking you that question.
I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, let's use our common sense. What do you think it will be the reason why?
Just lack of research, distorted thinking.
Okay, I can go with that. Okay, lack of research. Give me another theory.
Distorted thinking, taking scriptures out of context.
Okay.
Misinterpreting.
I can go with that, but give me something else. What could be another reason why they ain't showing them as black people, but always show them as white?
Customs?
Racism.
You already know about that.
I ain't hear you. What you say? Customs and what?
Customs, racism, and all that. You already know about that.
Racism. Okay, cool. I can go with that. That's a good one. That's a damn good theory. It's seeing the fact that what my people done went through, how we've suffered. That's a damn good theory, if you ask me. Racism. So, and then when we show that they're black, they always say, well, color don't matter. Well, color don't matter. Run the red light. See, color don't matter until you put a black face on it. So people will accuse my people of saying that we're racist because we're showing the people more than likely what the children of Israel have looked like. So all these years you have grandma and granddaddy going to church praying to a white Jesus. A white Jesus. Which let you know that they look at their God as white. Everything is
shows favoritism with a particular color.
You say what?
Or that he shows favoritism to a particular color, race.
Hold up. Explain so I can fully understand you.
Or that God shows favor with a particular race.
He does.
Color.
Look.
But the fact is that he's partial.
He's impartial.
Who obey his word.
So look. Let's go back because we done brought out two things. One, he does show favor to a nation of people, but he is dealing with what you call partial, but that's talking about in judgment.
Balance.
But look, hear me, brother. What you're saying is true, but let's keep it within the context of the Bible. He is, he's not partial, but that's talking about in his judgment. You want to read it? Because the Jehovah Witnesses love to start off with Acts 10. They love to deal with that, Acts 10:34. But let's go back and deal with the same writer who also spoke the same thing. Let's go to Romans chapter 2. Let's read that right quick. And then I'll show you God does have a favorite people. He does favor one nation over everybody on the planet Earth. But them people who we talking about right now messed up. Those people who I'm talking about right now sinned against God. Those people I'm talking about right now don't know who they are. Those people who I'm talking about right now call themselves African American. But the Bible don't call them that. The Bible calls them the children of Israel, the Israelites. That's what the Bible calls them. So let's go ahead and go to Romans chapter 2 real quick. Romans chapter 2, you there?
Chapter 2, verse 1.
We're going to start in verse 5. All right? 2 and verse 5. You breaking up, brother. I can't hear you.
Okay, you go ahead and read that.
Okay, I got you. Let me grab it real quick. Romans chapter 2. Let me get my Bible. Romans chapter 2. Okay, cool. Romans chapter 2. All right, in verse 5 it says, but after your hardness and an impenitent heart, it says, treasures up unto thyself wrath against the day of against the day of wrath and revelation of the righteous judgment of God. So here it is, because they being hard-headed and stiff-necked, they are storing up more anger and more anger and more anger. They're making it hard on themselves when it come time for that judgment.
And which verse was that again?
This ends in verse 5. So then it goes on to say, who will render or pay or give every man according to his deeds, meaning his works, his actions. It says, now it's about to deal with the other side, not those hard-headed people, but here we go. To them who, by patient continuance and well-doing, seek for glory and honor and immortality, eternal life. But to them that are contentious, that's talking about that headstrong, hard-headed people, don't want to listen and obey, them people. It says, and do not obey the truth, but obey unrighteousness, meaning what? Iniquity, sin. What's going to happen to them? It says indignation and wrath, tribulation and anguish upon every soul of man that doeth evil, of the Jew first and also of the Gentile. But glory, honor, and peace to every man that worketh good, to the Jew first and also to the Gentile. Now here we go. This is what you was talking about right here, verse 11. For there is no respect of persons with God. That's talking about being partiality, talking about in his judgment. Did you see that?
His judgment, yeah.
So your version says in verse 11, for there is no partiality with God. So when you said that, I was like, brother, you got to keep that in context. Yeah, he ain't partial. That's talking about in his judgment, though. Meaning if you're doing good, you're going to be rewarded for doing good. If you're doing bad, you're going to be rewarded for doing evil. Because he ain't partial. So in other words, just because you're an Israelite, don't mean that you finna ice skate into the kingdom. Just because you're an Israelite don't mean God finna show favor on you. No, You still got to be righteous. You still got to do as you're told. We under contract, an agreement. And your ancestors broke that agreement. And since we broke that agreement, that's why we being punished. And that's why we suffering. That's why we going through all this hell on earth. Because we sinned against God. That's why we suffer so much. Like, think about it. If I ask you right now, brother, out of all, how long have you been a Jehovah's Witness in this religion, teachings?
4 years.
How many?
4 years, I think.
Okay. So your 4 years.
5 years.
5 years. Okay. So 5 years. That's long enough to know this answer. How long, I'm sorry, if somebody asked you, well, brother, why do black people or African Americans suffer so much in the earth out of all these people? Where was God when they was in slavery? Why did he let them go into slavery? Why does he let the black people suffer so much out of everybody on the earth? Now, we know other races suffer. We know other races in poverty. We know other races is struggling. But nobody goes through things like black people. In every city, in every neighborhood, we the ones in the ghettos. We the ones at the bottom. Now, we know we're not the only ones, but we're the most. We're the majority. You can go to cities and see us on the bus stops, right? You can go into see, we can see we the first fired, the last hired, we getting gunned down by the police. What does your God say about that? What could you tell me? Why are we going through this?
Well, I would tell there that since the beginning, things were meant to be right, the way God intended, and the person had interjected, and he challenged God's right to rule, and you already know who that is. I will share with them 1 John chapter 5, verse 19. We know World War II.
Yeah, 1 John 5 and 19 says, for the whole world lieth in wickedness.
Millions of people know that. Slave killings.
Hold on, bro. Your phone is breaking up.
I said, World War II.
Hold on. You.
Can you hear me now?
Hold on, say something.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Over 50 million people have died during World War and slave killing. Out of that is even unrecorded. So, a worldwide scale, like I said,
hold on, your phone is breaking up once again.
I don't know what's going on with that. But 1 John 5:19 talks about the world lying in the power of the wicked ones. So
correct.
You know that there's the person that's behind the scenes pulling the strings. And if it wasn't for him, there wouldn't have been any suffering.
So look, so the people like you said, the people that's pulling the strings, why is it happening so much to black people? Why are we going through all of this? What does God say about that?
Good question.
Now think about it. You said good question, right? Oh, because there's an answer, and the answer's in the Bible. Now, if I ask you right now, who creates wickedness and darkness?
That would be the devil.
No. They teach you that in your religion. That ain't true. Go to Isaiah chapter 45 right quick. In your book, Isaiah chapter 45. I came across a Jehovah's Witness one day, and they gave me a pamphlet. And in there, they were asking a question that was similar to that. And they was trying to say that the devil. I'm like, no, well then, what about this scripture then? So Isaiah chapter...
There are multiple factors. Satan is the one who started and made the door, opened the door for wickedness to be abundant in the earth. Remember Genesis 6:5.
Mm-hmm.
Jehovah looked at the earth and saw that the wicked and the heart and inclination of man was bad all the time.
Mm-hmm. But get this though.
And you saying Isaiah 45
and verse 7. What does yours say? It
says, I form light and create darkness. I make peace and create calamity. I, Jehovah, am doing all these things.
So who's doing all these things, brother? Because calamity means evil in minds, destruction.
Well, we also know that James 1 13, I believe is what it said. That
You're breaking up. You're breaking up.
James chapter 1 verse 13.
Well, before we go there, we can go there too. But before we go there, who just said that they doing everything? They doing all of this.
Jehovah.
All right, who you call God, Yahweh or Yahweh. So here in the King James version, I'll read what it says in mine, and then we'll grab the scripture you want to grab. You know what I'm saying? Isaiah 45. Because all this is dealing with the case in point on why I'm asking, if God creates evil as well, and he's allowing these things to happen, why is he allowing so much evil to happen to our people? What did we do that was so bad that we got to suffer like this in the earth? Now, you go to a church and religion, you're not going to get that answer. But if you go into the Bible, you get the answer. So Isaiah 45:7 says, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, or what you'll say, Jehovah, it says, do all these things. Not some, not most. It said, do all these things. So in your book, it says, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create calamity. I, Jehovah, am doing all these things. He's doing these things. They don't teach you that in religion and in church. I wonder why. Just like they don't teach you if he's doing all this evil, because think about it. If you got common sense, let's use people who don't believe in the Bible. I got a brother right now who's watching right now. You know what I'm saying? He's a good brother of mine. He don't deal with the Bible like that. Antonio Ellis. Shalom, bro. I just saying he's on. So this brother in particular, right? One of the questions he asked me was based in a nutshell, like us going through these things. You know, like what if God is this loving God and he's this, you know, this good God, well, why he allow all this stuff to happen to us? Why? And I explained to him that if you ask a preacher this or a pastor that, you more than likely hear some stuff like, oh, well, you ain't paid your tithes. What up with you, bro? Shalom. So you'll hear stuff like that. You won't hear what we gonna learn today. Why are we suffering? That's the question that I was asking. James 1:13 don't answer that question. Why is black people, or who you call African Americans, is suffering so much on the earth? Why? Why is he just sitting back and just watching this? What is he gonna do about this? Why? Why is it that you get people who go to church all their life, be praying, God will kill them, but then he'll let people that's been wicked and evil, he'll let them live. Little Johnny can go and rape 6 babies and kill 3 of them and still be alive. Meanwhile, your damn grandma been praying her whole life and will literally die. Why? Why do you think that is? Now get this, brother. I'm going to give you another case in point that what I'm saying is not far-fetched. You remember the prayer of Daniel that he did in Daniel chapter 9? Daniel acknowledged what I'm saying in a prayer. Let's go to Daniel chapter 9 right quick. Because Daniel realized all this evil is coming up on my people. And ain't nobody under the whole heaven has suffered like Jerusalem, meaning us, Israel. Let's read what Daniel was saying when he was praying. Because the very question that I'm asking you, Daniel wrote about it. I be damned. Daniel wrote about it. And Daniel really... I'm gonna hit verse 4 to show you that this was a prayer. First, Daniel chapter 9 and verse 4. It says, well, we've been in Daniel a lot lately, huh?
It won't hurt.
Hey, it won't hurt, right?
All scriptures inspired of God.
That's right, Elder.
3:16.
Yes, sir. That's right, sir. All right. So Daniel chapter 9 and verse 4, it says, and I prayed unto who you call Jehovah. Remember, I'm gonna meet you where you at. So I prayed to Jehovah my God and made my confession. Then it said, O Lord, the great and dreadful God. That sounds like a God that don't play. Called him the dreadful God. It says, keeping the covenant, meaning what? A contract, an agreement. And mercy to them that love him, and to them that keep his commandments. Verse 5. Look at what Daniel was saying. When he says we, he's talking about him and his people, the Israelites. He says, we have sinned and have committed iniquity and have done wickedly. So now Daniel is acknowledging not only him, but what his family, the Israelites, what they've done. They sinned, they committed iniquity, and they've done wickedly. They didn't do good. So then he say, and have rebelled. So they are in rebellion. Then it goes on to say, even by departing. Departing means what? To walk away from. What did the Israelites depart from? Let's see. From your precepts. Meaning what? Your commands, your rules. Then he say, and from your judgments. Look at what else he said the Israelites did. Verse 6. Neither have we hearkened. Hearken comes from the Hebrew word shamai. That means to listen and obey. So he is acknowledging we ain't been obeying. We've been breaking the rules. And in a modern sense, what young people would say, my younger generation, we've been fucking up. I'm just going to say that's what they would say. We've been messing up. So here it is, he go on to say in verse 6, neither have we hearkened to listen unto your servants, the prophets. Wow. Daniel is also acknowledging we didn't even listen to the prophets. Like who? Moses. Didn't Moses give the commandments? Yes. Daniel was saying we didn't even listen to them. Then he go on to say, which spake in your name, means authority, to our kings, because the kings had rules. Deuteronomy 17 is an example. They have to write a copy of the law. But then he say our princes and our fathers, comes from the Hebrew avotakim, meaning your ancestors, and to all the people of the land. What land? Jerusalem. Then he said in verse 7, O Lord, righteousness belong unto you, but unto us confusion of faces, as at this day, meaning at this very day, to the men of Judah and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. That's all 12 tribes, the Israelites. It says, and unto all Israel, all Israelites. It says that are near and that are far off, because there were some children of Israel that were in captivity with him, and then there was some that were scattered, according to what Moses said was going to happen. He was going to scatter the Israelites if they disobeyed. But then he go on to say that are far off through all the countries whether thou hast driven them, meaning everywhere where you forced them to go. He says, because, now look at why he did it. It said, because of their trespass, that they have trespassed against you. So one reason we see why he scattered them is because they didn't want to follow the rules. They trespassed. They sinned. They were in error. So because they did this, God scattered them all over, just like we are scattered today. Then he go on to say, verse 8, O Lord, to us belong a confusion of face, to our kings, to our princes, and to our fathers, because we have what? Sinned against you. See that? So he's acknowledging that, God, you doing this because we broke your rules. We sinned against you. We didn't obey your voice. We didn't listen to Moses. We committed iniquity. We've been doing evil. You understand that so far?
Got the Bible reading that.
Yep. Now verse 9.
The response.
Now verse 9. This is when it's finna get good. To the Lord our God belongeth mercies and forgiveness, though we have rebelled against him. So he is a merciful God, even though we rebelling against him. But then he say, neither have we obeyed the voice of the Lord our God to walk in his laws. See that? We didn't walk in his laws, meaning his rules, his Torah, his instruction. Then he say, which he set before us. By who? He says, by his servants, the prophets, like Moses. Then he say in verse 11, yeah, all Israel, meaning all the Israelites, have transgressed your law. Letting you, because 1 John 3 and 4 say that sin is the transgression of the law. So he letting you know that all the Israelites have sinned. We've all broke the rules. And since we broke the rules, what did God say? What did he say that God did? Look at this. He says, even by departing for what? The law of God. That they may not obey your voice. So we sinned. We went away from his laws. We didn't want to hear him. And since we did that, look at what he said God did. Pay very close attention. It says, therefore, meaning therefore, since we did this, he says the curse is poured upon us. So now we see the children of Israel, whoever they are on the earth today, are being cursed because they didn't obey God's voice. They didn't listen. They committed iniquity. They didn't listen to the prophets. They rebelled against God. They departed from his precepts, meaning his commandments and his rules. We departed from his judgments. We were hard-headed. And even though he was merciful to us, we still disobeyed him. We didn't listen to him. And therefore, he put curses upon us. But what curses did he put upon us? Oh, we're going to find out. We're going to find exactly what curse is he talking about. But he goes on to say, therefore the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses. So Daniel is realizing we messed up. God, we didn't listen to you. We didn't listen to your prophets. We rebelled. We committed iniquity. And since we did this, we didn't listen to you. You are whooping our behinds right now. You putting curses up on us right now. And them curses is found in the law of Moses, Deuteronomy 28. The same chapter that George Washington swore on during his inauguration. These people know who you are. They swore in on Deuteronomy 28. Look it up. They'll tell you. He swore in on Deuteronomy 28. And it's split into two parts. The blessings, if you obey God, and the curses, if you disobey God. Daniel said that they broke the law and they under the curses, which means that whoever the children of Israel in the earth, they have to be under them curses that Moses spoke about. And we'll get there. But anyway, in verse 11, he says, therefore the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of God, because we have sinned against him. That's why we're suffering. That's why we the first fry, the last hire. That's why we went into slavery. And we're going to read this. But then he goes on to say in verse 12, and he have confirmed his words, which he spoke against us and against our judges that judge us, by bringing upon us a great evil. Did you hear that, brother? Jehovah brought evil upon the children of Israel because they were hard-headed. They didn't want to keep the commandments. Then he goes on to say, he says, for under the whole heaven have not been done as been done upon Jerusalem. Letting you know, ain't nobody on earth suffered like us. Damn. Don't that sound like today? Ain't nobody under the whole heaven suffered like them black people. Like them people that's a product of the slave trade. Nobody. And Daniel is acknowledging the same thing that people like us is acknowledging today. Damn, ain't nobody suffering like us. Even you get people who be like, oh, well, the Bible was used to enslave us. Okay, well, nigga, you ain't enslaved right now. You still don't even believe in the Bible. You still suffering. You still being the first five, the last high. You still being oppressed. So where we at now? You still in the same boat as me. So it has to be something much more deeper than just saying racism. This is divine what we going through. Ain't nobody saved us. We had a quote unquote black president, but we still in the same situation. But get this though, let's continue because it's about to get deeper. Verse 13. And as it is written in the law of Moses, you hear that? And as it is written in the law of Moses, the prophet, he says, all this evil is come upon us. Yet we made not our prayer before the Lord our God, that we might turn from your iniquities and understand your truth. So he even said that, dang, was written in the law of Moses. All this evil came upon us. And then he said, we ain't even pray to God that we can repent, turn from our sins, that we might understand your truth. So letting you know, one of the reasons why people don't understand the truth is because they sinning against God. Because they haven't repented. That's why they don't understand God. That's why most people put the Bible down because they don't understand God. Well, you sinning. That's why you don't understand the Bible. That's why you don't understand the truth. That's why you don't understand what we're going through. That's why. Because you're sinning. Your mind has gone away from God instead of going back to God. You picked up religion, and religion will have just as many flaws in it as the man who made it and the man who continues to keep it. There is no religion in the Bible. None. So we picked up another religion, meaning we picked up another God. And when you pick up another religion, you pick up another man's culture, another man's philosophies, another man's ways, another man's customs. And you've gone away from your customs. You've gone away from your culture. You've gone away from your heritage. You've gone away from your language, your foods, the clothes you wore, and you've gone away from your God. You've gone away from him. You walked away from him. And that's why we're suffering. That's why. And he is whooping our behinds. But let's continue though. In verse 14, he says, therefore hath the Lord watched. Says he watched. Therefore the Lord watched upon the evil. You see that God sat back and watched. Okay. You want to do what I tell you to do? You want to follow my rules? Fine. Then I'm going to let that go ahead and happen to you. Then you're going to come crawling back. Realize the grass wasn't green on the other side. And you're going to acknowledge why we keep getting out behind wolves. Because you hard-headed. You don't want to listen. So therefore, I'm going to whoop your ass until you come back to my rules. Repent now, for the time is at hand. So then he go on to say in verse 14, therefore have the Lord watched upon the evil. And get this, and brought it up on us. And brought it up on us. He brought the evil on us. After he sat back and watched it, I'm going to bring some more evil upon them. Because you hard-headed. You don't want to listen. And remember, he married Israel. We are married to him. We are in a covenant, meaning a contract and agreement. And since we broke the contract, since we broke the agreement, I'm going to whoop your behind. I'm going to put curses upon you. Until you come back and acknowledge your God. Until you come back and acknowledge me as your master. Me as your ruler. Because when it's all said and done, you keep crying out. Eventually, hey, you better cry out to the right God. But let's continue though. It says, and brought it up on us, talking about the evil. He says, for the Lord our God is righteous in all his works which he doeth, for we obey not his voice. We obey not his voice. Then he say, and now, O Lord our God, that has brought the people forth out of the land of Egypt. Who he bring up out of the land of Egypt? The Israelites. He says, with a mighty hand, and has gotten thee renown, meaning make fame. As at this day we have sinned, we have done wickedly. We have done wickedly. Now get this. Remember Daniel said, because we sinned against God, because we didn't obey him, he said the curse was poured upon us, right? And the curses was written in the law of Moses, right? Now, have you...
It's clear to them.
Huh?
They made the vow. They knew what to do. And you know, supposed to live by his righteous decree.
Right. Now get this. Have you ever read those curses that he said he was going to place upon the children of Israel? Have you ever read them?
Which scenario we talking?
The children of Israel, Moses told them that they didn't obey what was going to happen to them. Let's go ahead and read it. Let's go to Daniel chapter 28. Daniel chapter 28. And let's read those curses that Daniel was just talking about. Because if we can read that, we can understand, we can first begin to understand why we suffering, why we the first fire, why we the last hire, why we the ones being oppressed, why as a nation we can't get ahead. Why as a nation we always get what we call the poop end of the stick. The SHIT end of the stick. When it's all
chapter what?
28.
Chapter 28.
Yep, I'm gonna even go into it in your book too. Daniel 28. Daniel 28. All right. In your book, page 311.
You sure Daniel?
I'm sorry, my bad. I'm tripping. Deuteronomy chapter 28. My bad. I apologize. I'm going off. Yeah, Deuteronomy chapter 28. Fifth book in the Bible. Page 311 in your book.
Yeah, I'm here. Chapter 28, verse
15. Because verse 1 through 14 goes over the blessings that say he would have done if you would have obeyed him. But there's no point of reading that because we know that the children of Israel disobeyed. We know the children of Israel are under the curses because Daniel, who was a prophet, told us.
So it says, but if you will not listen to the voice of Jehovah your God by taking care to do all his commandments and his statutes, and as I am commanding you today, all these curses will come upon you and overtake you.
Now, wait a minute. Don't that sound like what Daniel was just talking about?
Yeah.
So he's telling you in verse 15 that if you didn't do these commandments and these statutes that he command you, curse is going to come upon you, right?
Uh-huh.
All right. Now, before we do...
They made a vow to do what he said.
Now, get this. Before we read these curses, I want to show you that it's relevant today. Let's read verse 45 and 46 first before we go into some of these curses. Because I'm going to show you that the curses is still relevant to year 2020. Still to this day. So, dealing with that, verse 45, what does it say? It says, in your book, it says, all these curses will certainly come up on you and pursue you, meaning it's going to follow you, and overtake you, meaning it's going to what? Overcome you. And then it says, until you have been annihilated because you did not listen to the voice of Jehovah your God. By doing what, brother? Keeping his commandments and his statutes which he commanded you. Now look at what it says in verse 46. And they will continue on you and your offspring. What's your offspring, brother? Your children, right? And their children, right? And then it say in verse 46 again, look at what it says about these curses. And they will continue on you and your offspring as a permanent sign, a permanent sign, and portent. So, brother, one of the reasons how you know who the children of Israel in the earth is because of that permanent sign that God placed upon them. And that's those curses. And it's following their children, and it's following their children, and it's following their children, and it's following their children. It's a long, continuous cycle of curses that is placed upon this hard-headed ass people. These stiff-necked, hard-headed people that don't want to listen, that don't want to follow the rules, and want to do what they want to do. It's going to keep on following them until we give up and say, you know what? All right, we sorry. We done. So let's go ahead and read some of these curses real quick, brother. Let's back it up to verse 15 again.
you will not listen to the voice of Jehovah your God by taking care to do all his commandments and his statutes that I am commanding you today, all these curses will come upon you and overtake you.
Now let's look at verse 16. What it say? Hello? You kind of breaking up, brother. I couldn't hear. I can hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
It says, cursed you will be in the city, and cursed you will be in the field.
So let's stop there. The first curse he said was, what's the first?
In the city.
In the city. So let's deal with that. In no matter what city you go to, because remember the curses apply to today, because it says it's going to happen. It's going to be a permanent sign, right? Huh?
Yeah, what type of curse is it?
We're reading it now. It says, curse are you read in the city and curse are you read in the field. So I was about to ask, no matter what city in America you're going to, who are those people that's suffering? Who's the people that's at the bottom?
Apparently we all suffer. Like every person that is still under sin, ravages of sin.
But look though, brother, right now we talking about a race. What race of people is suffering the most? We're going to do a process of elimination. Who?
The black people.
The black people. Okay, cool. Then it say, curse shall you be in the field. Right? You remember slavery? We were picking cotton where?
In the field.
In the field, right? That was a place of work. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And we just getting a few. And let's see, we're going to do a process of elimination. Well, let's leave every race on the table and let's see who this fit. Well, one, we've done a process of elimination because clearly we've established that whoever these nations, they got to be black. So we've gotten that far. So we got to find a people of color, black people, not white, got locks in their heads, and we got to do a process of elimination. So far, we had black people, right? What we call African Americans, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now get this. We just reading a few. Look at verse 32. What is yours saying, verse 32?
Says, your sons and your daughters will be given to another people while you look on, and you will always long for them, but your hands will be powerless.
Now get this. That word people, that means nations, meaning a race. So it's saying that your sons and daughters were going to be given to another people, meaning another race. Brother, what race of people as a nation was given to a whole nother race of people? And their parents couldn't do nothing about it. What race of people is that?
You talking about which race was that the Israelites?
They the Israelites. They the Israelites, but I'm asking, what race of people on earth that we can go into history and we can read and see about that whole race of people was given to another race of people and their parents couldn't do nothing about it?
Oh, it's in books. In black people.
Slavery, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now get this. And look, we just reading a few. So far, that don't sound like the Jewish people. That didn't happen to them. They didn't go into another people. Hitler was a German Jew. And then they ain't even going to slavery, but that's another topic. But remember, we're just getting a few. Let's look at verse 43. Look at verse 43.
43 is, what chapter is that again?
Deuteronomy 28 and verse 43.
It says, the foreign resident who is in your midst will keep ascending higher and higher over you, while you yourself will keep descending lower and lower.
So did you see that? Your book says, it says, the foreign resident. I mean, that's a foreigner who live among you, right? Somebody of another race, of another nation. So it says the foreign resident who is in your midst, meaning who lives among you or within you. It says, will keep ascending or rising higher and higher over you, while you yourself, talking about this whole nation of people, will keep descending lower and lower. That's Deuteronomy 28:43. So here it is. We got to find a race of people that's black, that in their neighborhoods, foreigners have risen above them and they are at the bottom. Brother, if I told you to go find me them people, what neighborhood you going to?
Neighborhood of black people.
Neighborhood of black people. And remember, Daniel said these curses was happening because we didn't keep the commandments. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't we see that pattern today still? Don't we still see that?
The disobedience.
Yeah, the disobedience, but don't.
That's all the time.
Yeah, but don't we see that pattern of in our communities where foreigners own everything, and as a nation, we at the bottom?
Sure.
Huh?
Or where? Here?
In any city in America. Any city where all the slaves went, doing the slave trade. Or aren't they the ones that's still at the bottom? By the foreign residents.
Foreign residents, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So that would mean that what we're reading is still relevant today. But look at the next verse. I'm going to read 43 again. Deuteronomy 28:43. It says, and I'm reading out of the New World Translation, the version Bible that you have. It says, the foreign resident who is in your midst will keep ascending or rising higher and higher, and you yourself, over you, while you yourself will descend or come down or brought down lower and lower. It says, he will lend to you. Who is he? The foreign resident, the foreigners. It said they're going to lend to you, the one that's at the bottom. Don't foreigners give us everything we need?
They're the ones who are foreign.
Huh?
Yes, so they're the ones who are foreign.
Yeah, so
they're coming in their midst.
No. The foreigners are, yeah, you're right. The foreigners are coming in the midst of the ones that's been brought low. The Israelites. And
because of their disobedience.
Because of their disobedience. So since they were disobedient, God is allowing them to be at the bottom right now. And he's allowing the foreigners to come in their neighborhoods to set up shop and rise over them. How do we know? Because verse 44 says he will lend to you. Give me some things that people can lend to you. What is something that a race of people can lend to another race of people? Give me something.
Race?
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say generally money.
Money?
You can lend something of your belongings, probably a cooking dish for your neighbor to use.
Give me something else. But look, as a nation, though, what is something that we need that is sufficient for us to be effective in our neighborhoods? What do we need?
To be efficient in your neighborhoods in regard
to us to function as a community. Because obviously this community is being overran by foreigners. So foreigners are able to come up and rise higher and higher, and our community is coming lower and lower, and they're lending to us. So you said money?
How black people as a community can fluctuate and rise.
Huh?
So you asking how black people as a community can stand out and rise up.
Yeah, like what is something like if we set up our own communities today, me and you right now say, look, we're gonna go ahead and build some houses and we're gonna go ahead and build our own neighborhood, right? What are some things that we'll need so that when people come into our communities, they would have that they would need? They got the house. What else we gonna need?
About resources.
There you go. What kind of resources? Give me something. Talk to me.
Sources like need access to water.
Water, okay.
Wood to build homes, make toilet paper.
So look.
Wielding skills and basic and type of skill, really.
Oh, so look, now let's keep that same energy. We talking toilet tissue. We don't have toilet tissue companies. That's owned by white folks, right?
You can make one. They made it starting from scratch.
Yeah. Now get this. Dealing with that. You were talking about. You said welding. You said something like welding.
Yes, carpentry.
Okay.
Jesus, a carpenter.
So in that form, it says there will be jobs.
Yeah.
So who owns these companies? What race?
In this country, white people.
White people. You see what I'm saying? What else do they give us? Gas, right? We got to go to a gas station, right? Oil, money, clothes, food. You said water earlier. You can get your water cut off, right?
You can't.
Yeah.
Using their water.
Using their water, right? So they own the water companies, right? So a foreigner is someone of another nation. So any nation outside of us, whoever the children of Israel is, they have to be in the bottom of their communities right now, according to this text. And that sounds like you and I as a nation, right?
You're kind of losing me.
I said that sounds like you and I, meaning in the sense of what. All right, so what we just read in verse 43 about the foreign residents, they were going to live among you, they're going to rise above you higher and higher, and we were going to come down lower and lower. And it was going.
Again, we know about that's talking about people disobedient.
Yeah, because we were disobedient, and because we were at the bottom. So foreigners are owning things in the communities of whoever the children of Israel is. Now get this, brother. You got some people today that are claiming that they're the Jews and their skin is white. They got their own Jewish communities. They got their own cemeteries, right? They got their own things to be self-sufficient. They own the banks. They own entertainment. They own all the sports teams. They even own the Federal Reserve Bank that prints the money. So
remember the story of the Pharisee and the tax collector at the temple at Jesus' time?
Yeah,
what the Pharisee was praying to God, that he was glad that he was not like the sinners or the tax collector, but the tax collector was sitting next to him on his knees, beating his chest. He couldn't even raise his head upward.
Right.
Because you do have some proud people out there. A true servant of God wouldn't even say such a thing.
Yeah. So, but going back, let's whittle it on back, brother. Let's stay focused on this. What people does this sound like to you so far? Can you hear me?
Can you repeat the question?
What people does this sound like to you so far that's suffering in the earth under these curses that Daniel and Moses spoke about? Because remember, Daniel said that these curses was poured upon us because we sinned against him. We read that in Daniel chapter 9.
Yes, the Israelites, they suffered great.
Yes. And according to Moses, these curses are still upon them to this very day. It's permanent. Right?
Is it?
Yeah, we read that in verse 46. Which means that it's still relevant today. And we read it's going to come up on their offspring, meaning their children.
Verse 46.
It says, and they will continue upon you and your offspring as a permanent sign. That means forever. See that? So that means that we can still find the children of Israel today.
46. Verse. And you're saying that the Greek was the effect of going to 46. John.
You writing it down?
Typing it, yeah.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Tell me when you're
So
ready.
you were saying that history of slavery is a byproduct of the punishment that's mentioned in
Deuteronomy 28.
26.
Mm-hmm. That the curses is forever. Now we know until the Messiah comes back in this world, but that's another topic though. We just dealing with these curses. And then get this. All right, now are you familiar with the word captivity, right? Captivity.
Yeah, like a prison.
Yeah, or like to be taken captive, like as a slave.
We talked about Samson earlier. Remember?
Yeah.
You remember the reason I into existence?
I can't hear you.
You remember a reason why Samson came into existence?
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll get to that in a second. I want to deal with these curses, so that we won't go too far off the topic. So dealing with that, I'm asking about the word captivity. What does captivity means? The word captivity. What does that mean, brother?
Yeah, it's imprisonment.
Isn't what?
It's a state of confinement.
A state of confinement, imprisonment, right? That what you said? Okay, yeah, we can go with that. Good. Now get this, brother. What race of people went into captivity?
It was black people, sure.
Now get this. I want you to read verse 41 out of your book. What does verse 41 say? But read it slow and read it loud. What does it say? It
says, sons and daughters, you will bear, but they will not remain yours.
They will not remain your children. But what else?
Because they will go off into captivity.
Now, you just said that was black people. That didn't happen to the Jewish people. How can they be the Jews?
Worms and insects will overwhelm all your trees and fruits of your ground.
Yep.
Did you see that news report where the locusts swarm the crops in Africa?
Mm-hmm. And look, we got Israelites that are in Africa too. Because we're going to read that the children of Israel are scattered all over the world. Verse 25, matter of fact, read verse 25. Verse 25 tell you that. Verse 25, what does it say? In your book, it says, Jehovah will cause you to be defeated before your enemies. You will attack them from one direction. Like me, let's go get them. And then it say, but you will flee from them in 7 different directions. Everybody run. Your enemy's gonna send you.
There's quite a number mentioned in the Bible.
Yeah, so he gonna send you scattering. And remember, we got scattered in all 4 corners of the earth. Then he say, and you will become an object of horror to all the earth's kingdoms. So
and people are going to know why they were losing battles, suffering pestilences.
Yeah, as a nation, we still doing that today. Now get this, brother. When dealing with the most sicknesses and the most diseases, right? What race of people got the most sicknesses, the most diseases? Now we know every country got some plagues, every country got some diseases, but who got the most? The most AIDS, the most cancer, the most diabetes, the most sickle cell, schizophrenia, you name it. Who got the most?
That's a long list, and that would depend on the statistics of deaths around the world.
So who? All right, so let's start.
If you find black people number 1, let me know.
Let's start here in the United States. Who got the most AIDS?
Let's see, AIDS statistics.
Mm-hmm.
U.S.
U.S.
HIV. See, South United States 52%, West 19.2, Midwest, Upper North 13%, Upward East 15%. Let's see if they got any particular race here. Ooh, let me see. HIV infections at 2006, race, ethnicity, black man, 115.7.
Woo.
Hispanic, Latino, 43.1. White man, 19.6. Black women, 55.7.
Ooh. So,
Hispanic,
brother,
Latino, 14.4. White women, 3.8.
So the black woman was 55, but the white woman was 3.8?
You said the black men were...
No, the black woman. She was 55?
55.7.
And the white woman was what?
3.8.
3.8. So, brother, what race is at the top?
Black.
The black people. Do you know why?
The disobedience.
Look, so let's read about it. Let's go to verse 59. We got the most sicknesses and the most diseases, brother. Here's the reason why. Verse 59, it says, I'm going to read out of your book. It says, Jehovah will inflict every severe plague on you and your offspring. It says, great and enduring plagues and grievous and enduring sickness. That means it's going to happen over and over. It's going to be a cycle. It's going to be of a long continuance. It's going to keep on happening. Your child, their sickness, they getting sick. Remember, this is a race. So you may say, well, I don't got AIDS. My daughter don't got it. Remember, we're talking as a nation. As a race of people, it's keep happening. Brother, who is AIDS keep happening to? The black people, right? You said, right?
The majority black.
The majority. Now, we know that other nations are facing plagues, but remember, the Bible says all these curses are going to come upon you. But then it says in verse 60, he will bring back upon you all the diseases of Egypt, which you used to fear, and they will certainly cling to you. I mean, you're going to become one with diseases as a race, meaning as a nation. Look at what else it says in verse 61. Moreover, Yahweh or Jehovah will bring on you every sickness. It said every sickness. Every sickness, brother. So it says, verse 61, moreover, Yahweh or Jehovah will bring upon you every sickness or plague not written in the book of this law until you have been annihilated, meaning destroyed. So you got sicknesses that's not mentioned here that your race of people is getting. And it's going to keep happening because you've been disobedient. You don't want to listen. Then he goes on to say, verse 62, although you have become as numerous as the stars of the heavens, very few of your number will be left. Brother, don't they call the African Americans the minority in the United States of America?
Because minority is smaller part, a smaller number or part. There's less than half of the whole number. Yeah, so in the period of being under the age of legal responsibility. So you meaning the first definition, smaller number is less than half what they should be.
Yeah. So blacks in America is known as the minority. And think about it. We the most people incarcerated. We the most people dying from AIDS. We the most people that's being killed due to gun violence. We the most people that's dying from the opioid crisis, dealing with heroin that they've been lacing with fentanyl. So here it is. We a nation of people that's dying. We got the highest abortion rate. So here it is. We as a nation of people is suffering in the earth on all levels, on all sides, economically and socially. You name it. We're suffering the most because we've been hard-headed the most. And we are the people that's supposed to know better. But get this though, brother. Let's continue. It says, and just as Jehovah once delighted to make you prosper and to multiply you, so Jehovah would delight or have pleasure to destroy you and to annihilate you. And it says, and you will be torn from off the land you are about to own or to possess. So, brother, didn't we get removed from our land?
The Africans, they did.
We straight got removed. We got removed from our land, right? So now get this. We find out why. And get this. He said we're gonna be torn from off the land. I mean, you're gonna be plucked or stripped from away from your homeland. But look at what else it says. It says Jehovah will scatter you. He gonna scatter you among who? All the nations. Brother, that never happened to the Jewish people. So I don't have a problem with one who wants to be Jewish with their religion, but they and all other nations have to acknowledge that this only happened to one race of people. Only one race of people. All religions have to acknowledge that. But it goes on to say in verse 64, Jehovah or the Lord will scatter you among all the nations, meaning races of people, from the one end of the earth to the other end of the earth. Now, didn't that happen in slavery? We got scattered and went everywhere. Haiti, Cuba, Trinidad and Tobago, St. Thomas, Bermuda. We went to Spain. We went to Madagascar. We got scattered all over Africa. Most of the slaves went to Brazil. We went to Canada. We went to America. We got scattered everywhere from one end of the earth all the way to the end of the other end of the earth. That only happened to your people. Only happened to your race of people. Nobody else but your people it happened to. Then it say, it says, and there, meaning when you get there, it says, and there you will have to serve gods of wood and stone. Wood and stone. Christians worship that cross made out of wood, and Muslims bow to a stone. We in every religion, every doctrine, you name it. We even got black Mormons. You a black Jehovah Witness. That religion was started by a white man, Charles Taze Russell III. A Masonic religion, might I add, too. He was a Mason. But then yes.
Explain that.
Okay, what street was Charles Taze Russell buried on? Look that up. Since you've been looking stuff up, what's the name of that street? And while you're reading it, I'm gonna finish that verse before you give your answer. It says, which was you and your fathers have not known. So you're gonna be worshiping gods, even the gods of wood and stone that your ancestors knew nothing about. Last verse, and I'm gonna let you get your answer. It says, you will have no peace among those nations. Don't that sound like your people? Yes. We can't get no peace, no ease. We don't get no rest. We always suffering. Somebody always dying, getting gunned down by the cops, getting pulled over, getting beat, raped, stabbed, you name it. We ain't got no ease. So it says in verse 65, you will have no peace among those nations, meaning among the nations where I'm going to scatter you. You will have no peace. So what race of people on earth is suffering the most ain't got no peace? So it says, you will have no peace among those nations, nor a place of rest for the sole or the bottom of your foot. That means you're going to be a working class of people, always working and busting your behind. No rest going to be at the sole or the bottom of your foot. So did you find Charles Taze Russell grave, which is the pyramid?
United Cemeteries, Ross Township, Pennsylvania.
All right. So what's the name of the street? Because all right, so in the cemetery, if you look at the map in the cemetery where he's buried, you know how cemeteries have streets? When you go into their neighborhood, what street was he buried on?
It's loading.
Take your time. Take your time.
226 Cemetery Lane, Pittsburgh. It's the address.
Go ahead. You said what?
It says 226 Cemetery Lane, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Look, what's the name of the street? Not the street that the cemetery's on, but the street inside the cemetery.
Inside the cemetery, let me see. Not seeing any names marked. There's one that's Russell's Pyramid by Watchtower. That's off in the grass.
Yep, that's the pyramid.
Watchtower.
When you first
Society.
when you first come in, right? When you first come in, there's a street that he's buried on. What street is that?
It's not telling me the name.
Keep digging. There's a reason.
No, it's not here on Google Map. That's what I'm saying. If they just didn't put it on here.
Yeah, it is. I'm looking right at it. Now, I just pulled it up. I'm looking right at it. You can look at the name of his street. The name of the street that his gravesite is on. So not the 226 Cemetery Lane. Inside of there is streets on where he's buried.
I see the streets, but the names are not listed for these smaller streets.
Okay, you gotta look.
So you can just go ahead and tell me.
It's called Masonic Way. For example, look at the building that's by his grave. There's a big old building with like a blue roof. What building is that?
Masonic Children's Learning.
What'd you say?
Masonic Children's Learning.
There you go. He was a Mason. So the Jehovah Witness religion is a Masonic religion. I'm actually gonna do a documentary on it in the future.
Masonic National. Well, I can probably just look that up, but what do you know so far about Masonic?
Well, we'll deal with that after we deal with the children of Israel first. I don't want to shift gears on that topic. I want to continue dealing with what happened to the Israelites first, and then we can deal with that as well. Is that cool?
Sure.
All right. So now dealing with that, going back into what happened to the children of Israel. Now in the Bible, Exodus chapter 20 and 2, Exodus 13 and 3, dealing with that, Deuteronomy 5 and 6, Egypt in the Bible referred to as the house of bondage. Bondage means slavery. So with that being said, I'm going to read Deuteronomy 28 real quick. I'm going to read out of King James Version. It says, "And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt." That's referring to bondage, slavery. "Again with ships." Didn't the slaves go through slavery with ships, brother?
Ships, yeah. That's carry people in water.
Yeah. It says, "By the way whereof I spake unto thee." I mean, you're going to go into slavery with ships, by the way I'm telling you. It says, "Thou shalt see it no more again." Then it say, "And there," meaning when you get there, say, "You shall be sold." You shall be sold. Talking about this race of people. "You shall be sold to your enemies for bondmen," that's a male slave, "and bond women," that's a female slave. And it said, "And no man shall buy you," comes from the Hebrew koneh, which means redeem or save you. Brother, do me a favor. Type in Deuteronomy 28:68 and click on images on Google. Deuteronomy 28, verse 68.
28 verse 68.
And click on images. And what are some of the images you see pop up?
Slavery.
Huh? Slavery. See that? Just like you see on the back of the dollar, you see that pyramid?
You said what pyramid?
When you see the pyramid on the back of the dollar bill,
yeah,
and there's a pyramid in Egypt, this is the new spiritual Egypt. This is the new spiritual Egypt. The new spiritual Egypt. Pyramids in Egypt, pyramids on the back of the dollar bill. Deuteronomy 28:64 said we got scattered in all four corners of the earth, and that we did. And all I did was
and all, Israelites and the Egyptians.
Yep, and all I did was type in Deuteronomy 28:68. Oh, look, we didn't even read verse 48 too. Oh, I forgot about that one.
When you saw, hold on, my voice is reverberating up your phone.
Look, hold on,
you
look.
Got me on speaker?
Yeah. So Deuteronomy 28:48, it says, therefore shall you serve your enemy, which is slavery, which the Lord shall send against you. But it said in hunger. Didn't we serve our enemies in hunger? Yeah. Then it say, and in thirst. Just like you got to serve your enemy to go and do it, like we did in slavery, you still got to serve them to get it today. But then it say, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. I mean, everything you want. But look at the kicker part. Pay attention to the neck part. It says, and he shall put a yoke of iron up on your neck. And he shall put a yoke of iron up on your neck. And he shall put a yoke of iron up on your neck until he have destroyed thee. Then we have iron yokes around our necks in slavery, brother?
Now, when you looked at Deuteronomy 28:48 and saw the pictures, did you know about this already?
Yes, yeah, I've been knowing about this, bro. I've been in this truth since 2012.
So with the Egyptians, I'm wondering how they got to slavery in the first place. Were they cursed then, or they just happened to fall under slavery?
Who?
The Israelites under Pharaoh's rule.
Yeah, remember when that's going back into Exodus, the first chapter. He didn't like the fact that the nation of Israel was multiplying in the earth during that time. So remember, he said, "Come and let us deal wisely with them." Right. So here it is. He wanted to kill all the firstborn, which goes back into why Moses was hidden for 3 months during the time.
So it wasn't anything the Israelites did.
Oh, the Israelites was always rebellious. We've always been rebellious.
I was like saying, if that was part of the curse, them being put under.
Yes, the children of Israel has always been rebellious. So when you read scriptures like Deuteronomy 9, and I believe it's 24, it tell you have been rebellious against the Lord from the day that I knew you. Think about it. What was one of the first things we did when we came up out of Egypt? Start being rebellious. We was complaining. I can go on and on. There's too many scriptures where we read about the Israelites being hard-headed, not obeying. So dealing with this, brother, going back to Deuteronomy 28, brother, what race of people on earth do them curses fit?
Do the curses fit, you said?
Yes. Those curses that we just read, who do they fit?
Apparently black people, from the way it's looking.
Yeah, from the way it's looking. You're right. From the way it's looking, we say black people, right? So, biblically speaking, would you be an Israelite? From the way it's looking.
A descendant of Israel?
Yes. From the way that it's looking, and from these curses, from the skin color to the hair to all this bad stuff that happened to them, would you be a descendant of the children of Israel that the Bible records about? From the way that it's looking, for what we just went over so far.
Physical descendant.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm unsure about that.
But hear me out, brother. I ain't asking if you're sure. I'm asking from the information that was presented to you, from what you heard, from what it's looking like, would you be a descendant of those very people that you're reading about in the Bible, based off what you've seen today?
Yeah, because we are slaves, and we're descendants of ancestors that were slaves.
Yes, and we reading
the trade.
And we read in the Bible that those happened to the children of Israel, the Israelites, descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The same descendants of the people who received the Ten Commandments. The same people who was the direct descendant of Jesus Christ. Same family, same bloodline. The same people is related to Moses, Daniel, Ezekiel, Hosea. Them same people. Those people went into slavery by the way of ships. They had iron yokes around their necks. From what it's looking like, using our common sense, would you be a descendant of those Israelites of the Bible?
Probably so.
I can't hear you. Your phone's breaking up. What'd you say?
I think probably so. That's how it really happened.
Yeah, if that's how it really happened, would you be a descendant of them?
Yeah.
Yes. So according to what we read, according to this information, would it be safe to say, and we're just talking about the right here and right now. Of course, you know you do your research and verify everything, but right here in the now, if I called you an Israelite by bloodline, would you at least see where I'm coming from, why I'm calling you an Israelite?
I can see where you're coming from.
Absolutely. And would it be so far-fetched to say that you're an Israelite? Would that be crazy for you to say you're an Israelite?
It would be to say that in this day and time.
I can hear
it
you.
Would be it would be odd for people to hear that.
Well, look, we ain't talking about other people. Damn the other people. I'm talking about you. You a grown man. Everybody ain't gonna like you. So we know that. But I'm asking you, brother, would it be crazy for you to call yourself an Israelite based on what you just learned, based on what you just read, until proven otherwise? Would it be crazy for you to call yourself
until proven otherwise? Yeah, I would. Because I never thought of myself being a special property.
Yeah, religion has done that to us. So it wouldn't be crazy for you to call yourself an Israelite, right?
Yeah, repeat that.
Huh?
Yeah, what'd you say?
I said it wouldn't be crazy to call yourself an Israelite.
It would be crazy to just outright call yourself an Israelite.
Not
digging, not finding out for sure.
But you gotta pay attention to what I'm asking you, brother. The information that has been given to you today, so far, for what you've been looking up on your computer, verifying what I've been saying, you've been following with all the scriptures, verifying it. Would it be a crazy thing for you to recognize yourself as an Israelite based off the text and the book you believe in?
Not so crazy.
Yeah, not so crazy. On your book, it says what? Holy scriptures, right?
Mm-hmm.
It says holy scriptures on the book you read. Do you believe that that's the holy scriptures?
Yeah.
Do you believe in every word that's written in it?
Yeah.
Do you believe that that's the...
Even though it's hard to understand it.
Hey, no doubt, but you believe that this is the true word of Jehovah, God, correct?
There's no other Bible.
Okay.
They have different translations, and the majority of them saying the same thing, even though they're different words.
No doubt. So, seeing that, this book that you believe in is describing you as an Israelite. Nobody else on earth, regardless of what everybody believes, regardless of everybody who don't believe, regardless of everybody who ain't gonna like it, regardless if your religion ain't gonna accept it or not, the book you just read described you and your people and your ancestors. Can we at least agree on that?
Yeah.
Yes. So can we at least agree that it would sound like that you were an Israelite?
Yeah.
Yes. Hallelujah. You're a Hebrew. That's who you are. Embrace it. You know, and you got to continue to do research, of course. And get this, I even got documentaries I'll send to you. I got a documentary, they banned a lot of them too. It's called True Identity of the So-Called Negro. And it's on YouTube. But they banned 1, 2, and 3. I gotta personally send them to you. But part 4 is on YouTube though. Because I got 2 YouTube channels. One of them is youtube.com/ Judah Israel 314, which I'll send it to you. But on there, I have a video called True Identity of the So-Called Negro Part 4. You watch that, and I got another one called on there. It's called What is My Religion? You watch that one second. You know what I'm saying? Watch that one back to back. You know, and then I got some with me sitting down with Jehovah Witnesses as well.
Sit down with witnesses?
Yeah, I got a few of them me sitting down with Jehovah Witnesses and lighting fire from their behinds. And there's nothing personal against them. I don't have an issue with Jehovah Witnesses. I have an issue with the doctrine, the teachings that they're learning. I don't have nothing against nobody or no race on the planet. I just like the truth. You know, the truth needs to come forward, whether we're talking about the color of the skin, whether we're talking about what the book says, or whether we're talking about the doctrines that the Bible actually teaches. I have an issue with those that are coming against what the book is saying. Not a particular race, not a particular religion, but
against what book again?
Coming against the Bible, the Holy Bible.
With a particular translation.
Huh?
Are you talking about a particular translation?
Right now, I'm going to just say all Bible. The reason why I say that is because, how can I put this? You got different people who follow Christ, but they read different versions of the Bible. All right. So right now, I'm saying Bible as a whole. All right. Because that will be going down to a whole nother topic. And I want to stick to what really matters. You see what I'm saying? That's what I want to talk about. You know what I'm saying? That's what I want to deal with. You know what I'm saying? So with that,
briefly, you mentioned Charles Taze Russell, a Mason.
Yes.
Just briefly talk about because we know Jehovah's Witnesses had just became established in 30s or 40s, I believe. I'm not quite sure. It's like just read that.
You kind of fading out a little bit.
Jehovah's Witnesses beginning.
Well, you sitting there typing away.
Oh yeah, I was trying to type up.
What?
It was an advertisement. Originated from, they were first initially known as Bible students in the 1870s. But my question was, Rutherford. You said
talking about Rutherford. What about him?
Was it Rutherford or Russell? You just showed me the cemetery. Charleston Cemetery.
You're losing me, brother. I can't hear you. Talk to me. What'd you say?
There was Russell, who was a Mason, right?
Yeah, Charles Taze Russell.
Okay, because he was still on the search for the truth.
Who?
As he did, Charles Taze Russell.
Do you believe that? Have you ever read? Have you ever seen some of the?
I watched a documentary about Charles Taze Russell.
Have you?
And this was before Jehovah's Witnesses came, before Bible students even came together.
You talking about the Watchtower Society?
Before that, it was Bible students attending a church.
Mm-hmm.
And Charles Taze Russell, he was by himself. He in a group. And
you kind of fading.
Like I wanted to ask when.
Hold on, go back.
Was he a Mason?
Hold up, bro. Go back and say what you were saying. You were kind of fading away. Go ahead. Say that all over again.
You tell me that Charles Taze Russell was a Mason.
Yes, absolutely. You know what I'm saying? One.
How long ago was that? Because there was a timeline where he was attending a church.
All right. So look, are you familiar with his speeches?
Not too much.
That's what you got to get familiar with, bro. You've been typing away. Go look at some of his Masonic speeches. He even said out of his own mouth. One, he starts off with saying he's considered them as friends, and So when you go into his speeches, you will see that when you go into what he do, what they call grips and do-guards and signs, he always signaled the other Masons. So go into that and look up his Masonic speeches. You can still get them today. So that's what, type that in your notes. But right now, I want to deal with us being Israelites. I do have a question for you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I have a question for you. Okay, so dealing with what we discussing now, right? Let's take this for in the sense of that everything I just said was 100% accurate, correct? I have a question concerning this. Why do you think that religions don't even discuss this at all? Why do you think that is?
Exactly?
Everything we just went over today. Why do you think that religions don't talk about it? This is not something that's being discussed by the world. And in a sense, our people's in the dark when it comes to this. Why do you think that is?
You've attempted to have a conversation with different religions.
Oh yeah, all the time.
How did they
go? Not like this, I'll tell you that. They always duck my questions. They don't like to be challenged with their minds. You know what I'm saying? They don't like you to question their religion, their doctrine. They don't like it. You know, they'll dismiss it, they'll change the topic. It don't go like this. You know, I at least applaud because like we've been on the phone 4 hours and 10 minutes. This is by far the record that I've been on the phone with a Jehovah Witnesses that actually, in a sense, you can say getting the light and making it make sense. You know, so
like Acts 17:11, the Berean Jews of more noble character than those of Thessalonica.
You lost me. I couldn't hear you. What was that, brother?
In Acts 17:11, that was about the Berean Jews, of more noble character than those in Thessalonica, but they received
Thessalonica.
Thessalonica.
Yeah, that's why when you read about Thessalonians, those were Israelites in that city. When you read about Corinth, that's where you get Corinthians from. When you read about the territory of Galatia, that's what Galatians. When you read about Ephesus, that's what Ephesians. These were Israelites that lived in those territories. So right now you're reading about the Thessalonica. That's where you get Thessalonians from. When you read about Philippi, that's where you get Philippians from. When I was in the church, I thought these were other races of people, but I didn't know that these territories were predominantly Israelites. So what you just
territories like nations.
They were Greek territories that were owned by Rome at that point because Rome was ruling during this time period. You know, so but that's a whole nother topic though.
And so it seems to say, for they received the message with great eagerness and examined the scriptures every day to see if what Paul said was true. To see if what he said was true.
Absolutely.
Not agreeing or saying that it was correct right off the bat. They were taking that and noting it down. And then doing their own research and coming together and comparing their idea to see if it matches the scripture.
Yeah, no doubt. And then when you go back to verse 3, it'll tell you matter of fact, let's go back to verse 1 real quick. So it says, now when they had passed through Amphipolis and Apollonia, they came to Thessalonica. Now remember, that's where the letter to the Thessalonians. These were Israelites that lived in Thessalonica. So that's why we see that. It says, where there was a synagogue of the Jews. I didn't know that when I was in church. I thought that, you know what I'm saying, these were other nations. Not knowing that, dang, there was a synagogue there.
A lot of people don't even have a Bible in church.
True. Yeah, we can definitely agree with that. We can definitely agree to that, brother. Absolutely. We can definitely agree with that. And verse 2, oh, look, some have a Bible, but they don't even open it. Or in some churches, look, in some churches, they'll have the Bible on the back of the little roll, and they don't never even really open. If they do open it, they'll open like one or two scriptures, and they got a whole little sermon based off that. But anyway, you are correct. So it says, and Paul, as his manner was, meaning as his custom was, went in unto them, and 3 Sabbath days reasoned with them out of the scriptures. See that? So here it is. He went into those synagogues or those churches on what day? The Sabbath, the Sabbath day. So here it is. We see that it was a custom for Jews or Israelites to worship on the Sabbath. Now get this. Not even just that. It was a custom for the Israelites to keep the feast days, like Passover, Pentecost, blowing of trumpets, Day of Atonement, Feast of Tabernacle, if you will. But as a nation, we have gone so far away from our customs, and we've gone away from our culture and our God. And what we do, celebrate holidays, not y'all, because I know Jehovah's Witnesses don't do that. But I mean, you know, as a nation, we celebrate holidays. I'm sure you got some family members that still keep holidays.
Yeah, I think we all got somebody in our family that does.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I'm saying? I got a lot of family members that do. I don't do that wicked stuff. So, as we know, they're all pagan. You know, bunny don't lay eggs. You know, Christmas goes back to Saturnalia. I got a documentary that talks about wicked Christmas is. We know he wasn't born December 25th. We know that Halloween goes back into the Feast of the Dead or Samhain or Samhain, you know, dealing with that. So we don't celebrate 4th of July. You know, none of these holidays. They're all wicked and they're all evil and they're all against God and all against the Bible. But I know I'm preaching to the choir teaching that because I know you know that already. So dealing with that, that's just preaching to the choir. You know, that's just whatever, Judah. We know this. We don't do holidays. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so that's basically what it is, you know. But look, we gotta continue because my phone finna die.
Oh, you don't have a charger, do you?
Yeah, I tried to put it on there, but it was acting funny. I don't know what's going on with this. Are you gonna be free? Are you gonna be free later on today?
Probably not. If my father's trying to help us cut grass, but you can still text.
Okay, I shoot you a text, and then you know we can do a part 2 of this convo.
All right, then.